Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am your host, Mike McFisticuffs, and this is the 2018 Dojo Talk Podcast Award Show!
Yeah. Living every day to define man's mission. Look into the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Serial Sensei. We are on episode number 118. As always, you can check this podcast out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. If you're on iTunes, please rate, subscribe, and leave a review. We're also on Spotify. You can hit us up on the Dojo Talk Podcast Facebook page, as well as follow us on Instagram. And you can follow me on Twitter at Serial Sensei and send questions to Dojo Talk Podcast at yahoo.com. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, the Anti-Cool, and we also forcefully drag Joey on this podcast because he never has a choice. We just drag him and he has to be here. So he
that was real. I didn't make that up. I wasn't
How's everybody doing?
All right.
Perfect health.
There we go. That's what I like to hear.
I can't complain too much because Joey's over there dying.
Yeah. Joey, where's your health?
Hey, look.
It just makes me look bad.
Where's your health bar at, Joey? How are you bleeping in the red, or are we like in the yellow?
I'm dead, and I need to pay the microtransaction to bring my phone.
All right, so we'll get the DLC by the end of this episode.
Yeah, you got to get the Joey non-flu addiction. Speaking of addictions, the sport.
Yeah,
we're doing awards.
We are. It's gonna be fun. You guys will probably hate some of us after this episode because of some of these awards, but that's fine. It's our awards. We can give them the
I feel like at this point you would hate us anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you didn't, now's the time. Now's the time. But before we get started,
fuck. Stop.
Oh, it's gonna be.
Cut out, you cowards.
Before we get started, quick shout outs to the listeners for the top cities of the week. Number 1 was El Cerrito, California. Number 2, St. Mary's, Pennsylvania. Number 3, Seattle, Washington. Number 4, San Francisco, California. And coming in at number 5 was Washington, D.C. So shout outs to all the listeners, everybody on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you listen to this podcast and post and retweet. We all here greatly appreciate it. So, as you guys can probably tell by the title, we will be doing awards. This is our second annual Dojo Talk Podcast Award Show. This is also, well, it's a day late, but this is also the second anniversary of the Dojo Talk Podcast, which started January 5th, 2017. So, we're still here 2 years later. We haven't been canceled yet. Well, nobody can cancel us, really. But, nobody...
Uncancelable.
Don't test that.
None of us walked out. None of us walked out the dojo yet. We're all still here.
We
I just re-upped my
letter.
contract. Oh, no. Can't do that.
Yes, see, it's a new year.
Did you use any music that we need to be aware about with this new opening?
Well, I haven't recorded the new opening yet.
I know, I just said new opening. You may go with the old opening, and that'll be completely useless for auditory purposes.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll try not to get as far this year. But no, second year anniversary, man. Kicking it off the right way. So, before we get to the awards, I wanted to be lazy and not write any notes, but there were a few fights worth of note that I wrote down, so I'm just going to run through this list really quick, and then we'll go back and talk about a few of these, and then we will get to handing out some awards. So, fight announcements. UFC 235 has about 3 fight announcements that I found. So the big one, or 2 big ones, we got Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman going down And also on the same card, we'll have John Jones versus Anthony Smith. And also on that card, we will have Ovin St. Preux against Misha Serkinov. Going down the list, I have Ben Rothwell versus Blagoy Ivanov, which is going to be... It's on one of the March cards. I don't know which one, but they just have it listed in March, so that'll be a thing. I just realized I wrote down the wrong fight. I have Gokhan Saki versus Dominic Reyes, which is not real. I flipped the names.
That'd be a bad fight for somebody. I just don't want to say.
Yeah, the Dominic Reyes is fighting Volkan Oezdemir, and Saki is fighting a gentleman's name I cannot pronounce, but I'm gonna find it really quick.
A gentleman's name.
Yeah, I want to say it's a Russian guy.
This is where you say insert regional fighter here, like someone else once said.
You know what? I'm gonna go back. Well, I'll find that one later. But Gokhan has a fight. It's gonna be on UFC Fight Night 147 in March.
Oh,
but it's not.
Isn't it Saprabek Safarov?
There we go. Anti-cool with the safe. I don't know why I wrote down Dominic Reyes, but
to be fair, I don't think anybody would have remembered that Saprabek Safarov was still in the UFC.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was still in the UFC, but I know he is because he had that fight with
Pedro.
John Vellante.
Oh,
That's what I remember him for.
I just remember Tyson Pedro.
Oh, he'll be fighting Saki at UFC Fight Night 147 in March. At UFC 234, we have Teruto Ishihara and Kyung Ho Kang.
There's another guy who it's like surprised he's still around too.
Y'all know why. I thought he got cut for some reason, but he's still here. But and the last fight I have for UFC Prague going down on February 23rd is Magomed Ankalaev and Darko Stoich, if I'm saying that correct. And then there's a fight that I had to put an asterisk next to because it's like it's not real yet, and like a part of me hope it doesn't become real, but with the way the UFC is, it probably will. For some reason, Wonder Boy versus Anthony Pettis is floating around in the.
I think Anthony Pettis put it out there that he wanted the fight.
Anthony Pettis booked it.
Yeah, he booked it, but Wonder Boy seems like he's game. Like he's open to the fight, so I don't know if that's gonna be a thing.
It shouldn't be. Please, if the UFC actually booked it, it'd be one of the worst mismatches the UFC's ever booked. I'm gonna go that far. Or at least from memory. At least
it's one of those.
Go ahead.
No, just like this is one of those rare fights where like it's not like it's a short notice fight where you're kind of desperate. It's not like where you need a main event out of nowhere, so you got to kind of create something. Like there's just no reason for this fight to even happen. So hopefully somebody just says, you know what, guys, that's great that you want to kind of do this, but like, no. So, because somebody close, Duke Rufus has to know that that's not a fight that Anthony Pettis can win.
Yeah.
Like you hope so.
I mean, he's very protective of the Pettis brothers.
You know what, though? We say Pettis can't win, but in my head, I'm envisioning, like, a fight where it's a stalemate for 3 rounds. Pettis is the one who just lands, like, a kick. It doesn't KO him, but he just lands one, and he just wins via, I actually threw a kick, and you didn't do anything.
Yeah. You know what? Now that Sensei talks about it, Wonder Boy putting himself in a position where he loses a close fight is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
but it's just such a remote possibility.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, you know, I guess it is what it is. I can't say that's a fight I'm really looking forward to, though. But I mean, if they're gonna throw down, hey, go for it. You know, if this how we want to kick off 2019. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
On the down.
What's the worst that can happen?
No, it's a fight I want to see. I want to see Wonder Boy versus Jacare. I mean, Wonder Boy has to do something while Woodley's champion.
I don't know.
And like, let's be real.
So hold on though. So what if that fight does happen and Pettis wins? Does he stay at welterweight? Does that become a thing?
I mean, you get that's like an immediate title shot almost.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then it's a terrible thing.
Oh, you don't want to see Pettis against the winner of Usman versus Woodley?
Do you?
I mean, I don't want to see the title fight, let alone
He's got a kicker's chance.
subsequent title fight. Dude, I could actually see that happening. I could see Pettis just like, because we got to be honest, like these are not super action-packed fights. Like the guy who does something might have a chance to win.
Like at the same time, like it's different when it depends on who they're fighting against. Like Usman is not an action fighter, but the dude never stops fighting.
No. Usman would be a bad, but like Woodley, we're talking about like even against Darren Till, which is we're going to talk about that potentially later on. But even against Darren Till, like the first round was not action. Like it wasn't all out war. There was a lot of clinching and playing around in that first round. And the second round could really just be summed up as one punch and then some great ground and pound in the finish. So it's not like
because Darren Till averages 2 strikes per 5 minutes.
Yeah, good point. But dude, I could see Pettis. If Pettis employed a Frankie Edgar style, like old school Frankie Edgar style game plan, where it's just like leg kicks, occasional flurries, and circling. I'm about to will this into existence.
Yeah, right. I feel like we're trying to sway people.
No, I'm just.
My thought process is, okay, Wonder Boy 6'2" or whatever.
No, look, this is not gonna happen. We know it's not gonna happen.
We know it's not gonna happen. I'm just saying, like, and this is me being defensive of Woodley. Woodley fights the way he does because he's like 5'8" in a division where everybody else is like 6'2", 6'3". And
the few times he's really cut it loose, he's also struggled with his cardio. So.
Right. So, like, I don't see a guy coming up from 155 who has problems not getting hit.
Great one.
I have a random fight announcement.
What's good?
And it's not important, but there's something in this article that is like making me chuckle. So LFA 59 is happening on February 1st. It's headlined by Kyle Stewart and Jared Gooden. In the co-main event, a name that I have not seen in a while, Seth Baczynski is fighting Daniel Madrid. So in the article it says, in the co-main event, X-time UFC veteran Seth Baczynski. Like they don't know how many times he fought. Like there's no, normally it would be like 3-fight veteran, 4-fight, there's no number.
That sounds like some easy editing.
It just says X-time UFC veteran.
Do you think part of the problem is that, like, and I liked Seth Baczynski as a fighter. I thought he was actually a really, like, interesting kind of comeback story. Do you think part of the problem is they're like, fuck, if they look up how many times this guy fights, they're going to see that he lost quite a few of these. So do we dance around that? Like, I don't, actually just sounds like bad editing.
You can't put X, though. Just don't put it.
Like, just bad editing and then bad proofreading. And then I guess, like, nobody was just like.
You could put how many years he was in the UFC for. You could put, like, you could literally just put former UFC fighter with multiple fights in the UFC.
Yeah, there were other options.
And I'm sure he's won a few bonuses. You could even just put UFC fight of the night, performance of the night, KO of the night winner. Sub of the night winner, because I think he did get a sub of the night on Matt Brown, actually.
Yeah.
I'm about to run that up. I know he beat Matt Brown with, like, a standing guillotine.
Man, I missed submission of the night. Fight of the night against Alan Jouban and Diego Alves.
He did not get a bonus in there, but he did finish Matt Brown. You could just put guy who finished Matt Brown.
How did he end his UFC career? Like, what streak was he on?
A 3-fight losing streak.
Ooh.
And then he did the comebacks, like the redemption season. I think he was gone in the first round.
Bad.
All right, real quick before we start handing out these awards, do we want to dissect Woodley Usman or Jones Smith or both real quick?
Ooh.
Any feelings, immediate thoughts?
When you say dissect.
All right, dissect is a strong word.
I mean, I think it's an accurate word for what Jones is going to do to Smith.
All right, we'll start with that one then.
I think he's going to cut him open with elbows and just start picking his gray matter out of his skull.
Yeah, that fight has potential to get really bad. But I'm telling you guys, the first minute and 30 seconds of that fight is going to be interesting. I can't vouch for anything after that.
I'll just put it like this. Anthony Smith earned the title shot. I think it's totally fair to say that he is a justified #1 contender. He has very little chance to win, but I also think his style offensively will at least make it fun. You know what I mean? Like
I think somehow he'll make it more competitive than people think, but it still
I think like
go well.
Right. Well, what is competitive, like grading on a curve?
I mean, competitive against Jones at this point is like, did you land like 3 punches that one of them actually hurt? Like, did Jones react at all when you hit him?
How many eye pokes did he hit you with?
Can we talk about how Jones doesn't use Fight Pass to actually study his opponents? He just goes on YouTube.
Yeah.
He just went to YouTube and typed in Anthony Smith full fight.
I am not gonna lie. I think John Jones might be the kind of guy who has a Fight Pass account, but doesn't remember his password, and like doesn't actually want to do the whole like reset your password thing. So
no, he didn't have time for that.
No, he's too busy being a fucking badass.
If he types in your name and like you don't have at least like 3 fights that pop up in the results, he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just winging it. What'd you guys say that guy was good at again? Oh, I'm better. Yeah, that's the one.
Like, he really does have that kind of pure talent. Like, if he would just on like because remember he beat Shogun like on 2 weeks' notice, and the fight was so not competitive that at one point he was just trying things. Like he sat on Shogun's chest and was trying to like hit him from behind. It's like imagine being that good.
Yes, I don't know what Smith has for Jones, but I'm glad he got the title shot though. Like you said, he's a deserving #1 contender. He's he came from middleweight. He's created his own lane. Carved his own path, and I didn't think he was gonna get past Vulcan, and he made it past that. So
can I ask a question because I don't remember if you guys discussed this on the podcast. Were you guys a part of the truther movement, so to speak, that thought John Jones looked really slow against Gus?
No.
There are people out there who
said
believe that.
He mauled Gus.
I mean, if you want to say he doesn't look as quick as he did when he was fighting, I don't know, flat-footed Rampage, flat-footed Shogun.
So hold on, you said
old
people
scared
said
Rashad, then yeah, maybe, but like.
So people said he was like really slow in that fight.
Well, at the press conference, watching it live, I mean, I was sick, so I might have just been in a different frame of mind. But watching it live, I thought he moved very well. I didn't see any sort of slow down or whatever. But at the presser, Kevin Iole was like discussing with some people, or I guess he had some Twitter discussions that he asked Dana about, like, did Jones look slow to you?
Nice play.
Like, is Jones slowing down? And Dana was like, he thought he came out pretty slow and then picked it up. And apparently that's what Daniel Cormier thought as well. But watching live, I thought he looked fine. I didn't understand the idea that John Jones was slower.
He looked like he was just more in control of what was happening.
I think so. Well, it's kind of hard for me to say because I haven't watched that fight in a very long time. But like that fight was, from what I remember, a lot different than some of his other fights because I feel like Jones during that streak was like beating people at what they did, and he was I remember him clinching a lot with Gus, and like destroying him in the clinch. So maybe it just wasn't like action. I don't know what you people are looking at.
I mean, like, there's a difference between fighting Gus and fighting like Glover,
right?
Or DC, who like to plant their feet. So like that's also part of it. Like I don't get the whole he's slowing down thing.
I mean,
I didn't buy that either, but
even if that's the case, if he's slowing down, nobody's winning still. He's still, if that's even a thing, he's still dusting everybody. So his slowing down is like still 100 miles ahead of whatever you think you're gonna do when you walk in there.
The next 205er, who happens to be Anthony Smith.
But good luck, Anthony Smith. I hope. I just want that fight to just give me one good moment from Smith. Like, let him land one good shot that can, like, get my hopes up very falsely. and then, life can go on as normal.
I really just hope one of these... Oh, go ahead.
No. You first, sir.
I really hope in this next year where John Jones probably fights like at least 2 or 3 mid-tier middleweights who moved up and let themselves into a title shot. I'm really hoping they're one of the guys who just ends up beating Jones.
Dude, if Chris Weidman somehow beat Silva and Jones, I'm quitting this whole sport.
Sam Alvey does it.
No, I know.
Nope.
I would never watch the UFC.
On a realer note, if this is Jones's way to fight 3 times a year, I'm fine with it. Like, Anthony Smith is a deserving guy. He earned it. I got no complaints. It also buys them time to develop well, not to develop, but Dominic Reyes can get one more test, and then you can do that fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Dom beats Volkan, I think you kind of have to.
Right, like I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like it stalls up some people. I'm just curious what they do with DC now, because like we don't know if Brock is gonna be a thing, and Jones is fighting in March, so
I don't know.
Probably don't want to do Stipe.
I mean, I think they do Stipe because that's
think
outside of Jones. That's been his biggest draw, right?
Rumble,
right?
I think Rumble Stipe are pretty close in terms of DC's toughest. I mean, not toughest, but biggest draws. Yeah, Gus is the lowest, I think. Gus or Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
How about how we feeling about Woodley Usman?
Feeling like I don't want to watch.
I mean, I like this better than the Colby Covington fight.
I do and I don't. I wanted to see Colby get his head like completely knocked off a swivel.
You see, I don't think Colby Covington getting knocked out would take him down a peg, but I do think getting completely passed over. It just be.
I was gonna say, do you like it more because you think it's a more competitive fight, or like I forgot that there is a personal issue?
Yeah, fuck Colby Covington.
No, I think even Colby's personality side, I think this fight is a lot more competitive. I don't think Colby has anything for Woodley.
I just don't like watching Covington fight because he doesn't look like a good fighter. Like, and I know that's contradictory to the fact that he's beaten Damian Maia and Rafael dos Anjos. But I don't watch him and I see like an elite fighter. I watch him and like he kind of just like I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't look like elite MMA.
For me, it's simply he just doesn't look like what he's doing is right. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he like there's so much just about his game in that.
It's not pretty, but it's very like effective like pressure. Like I'm just gonna outwork you. I'm not really gonna look super great at it, and I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna wow you. But you know, I'll just do more than you, and I'll stifle your offense enough so that I just kind of get the win by default.
For me, it's just I don't want to deal with the toxicity of that fight promotion. Like I don't want.
Maybe that was part of it. Maybe they just didn't want to put Jones and Covington on the same card.
Yeah, because I think John Jones would absolutely fight him in like a hotel.
Oh hell yeah!
And not give a shit about what would happen afterwards.
I mean, why would he? There are no
that's the one time if Jones got suspended, I'd be okay with it. You know, I'm down for that headline.
I just don't think I just can't imagine. First off, if Covington earns it, he earns it, whatever. But Usman's earned it too, so it's like a coin flip. And I would probably the lead up. I would probably rather just deal with Usman and Woodley, because that's going to be cringy, but it's not going to be offensive. And I kind of don't want, I don't know if I could handle 2 Khabib Connors, in back-to-back years, so to speak. So.
It was going to be really funny if Ben Askren beats Robbie Lawler and then they just give him whoever wins Woodley Usman. They just pass over Covington again.
I mean, I feel like that could happen because, if you do this historic trade for you didn't bring him over to have him sit on the sideline, so.
And I believe he said that there's a plan in place with him and Woodley if they are the next in line, so to speak, which I imagine would just mean Woodley goes up to 185. But I'm fine with Usman Woodley. It'll do.
Yeah, I like this fight better. I think it's more competitive. But I'm pretty sure I'm preparing myself for a 5-rounder that may not have a ton going on. I'm just kind of interested to see like who's gonna have like the first moment. I think I know what I'm getting into in this fight, so I'm preparing to not have like my mind blown. I know what I have an idea of what I'm gonna see. I'm interested to see how it'll play out.
I just want to know what Usman does when he walks onto a Woodley right hand, because it's gonna happen. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to take Woodley down early, but he's going to pressure him into the fence. He's going to walk into a right hand. And I want to know if that freezes him up for the rest of the fight, or if he doubles down, or if he learns nothing and just continues doing what he does.
I think the biggest fear for this fight would be Maya Woodley, where Maya came out, he got hurt a few times, and then it was just like, I'm just going to shoot doubles until I get it, but you're not going to hit me again. So that's kind of my concern from a viewer, because this fight is going to live in the clinch, and I don't know if Usman is stronger than Woodley. I know he's more determined. I think that like Usman has no problem. We've seen him fight 5-round fights where he's just nothing but action in quotation marks, but like he's nothing but pressure and activity. So, you know, like if this fight hits the championship rounds, I think it'll be Usman's fight. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever seen Usman hit clean, you know, outside of RDA catching him one time, but RDA is a 155er who wasn't necessarily known for his power anyways.
Right.
I will say, man, it's probably going to happen, but Woodley, Usman, and Askren Lawler back-to-back on that main card is going to test some people. It's going to test some folks.
You know what? I could...
Go ahead, say it. It's your show.
I'm trying to think of ways to defend this. I think Askren Robbie has ways to not be as boring as people may think it'll be.
I mean, of course it does. Robbie Lawler's in it.
Yeah. For one, it's a Robbie Lawler fight, so we kind of never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but this is Robbie Lawler that...
Oh, wow. Holly Holm's opening that card, too.
That's it's a really, really, really good card with a bunch of fights I just can't care about.
I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be decent.
I'm looking at that card now for what it's worth. It's like OSP versus Misha Sarkinov. All right, that's okay fight. Gina Mazzani versus Macy Chiasson, which has the potential at bantamweight, which has the potential to be just god awful.
Or a fighter dies trying to cut weight, because I'm not. I'm not up for that weight cut.
Mickey Gall and Diego Sanchez, which
we should all say no to.
But that'll be fun. I'm actually kind of excited about that now. Come on, that's like, dude, it's not like Mickey Gall's gonna rock him on it's gonna be a grappling contest. That'll be fun.
That's fine. Like, that's fine. Whatever.
I'm not with it.
Is that
Tisha Torres and Weili Zhang, which should be good.
There we go. I'm all for that one. I'm excited for that one, actually.
Holly Holm versus Aspen Ladd in a fight where I could see Holly Holm literally just like shadowboxing her way to victory, because Aspen Ladd's never fought an outfighter like her before.
Or Holm getting taken down and really hurt.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm really interested in that.
Well, like, I don't know how Aspen Ladd takes her down, because Aspen Ladd gets all her takedowns from the clinch, and Holly Holm's a great neutralizer from the clinch.
No, I don't know. But maybe she's.
We gotta draw out all the scenarios.
Yeah, maybe she's improved, because I think if Ladd takes her down, like, that fight's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Aspen Ladd was probably gonna have a good 15 pounds on Holly Holm.
Yeah.
Jeremy Stevens versus Sabit Magomed Sharipov, which is a great fight.
Ooh.
And then it's Ben Askren, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, Usman, John Jones, Anthony Smith.
I think those cards are. I think that card will be fun.
No,
like on paper, it's on paper. I think it's great, but you know, as we've seen, on paper doesn't necessarily always translate.
I'm just saying, March 3rd could roll around, and we could be coming to record, and I can hear us being all types of frustrated and upset.
Well, you know what? It can't be any. What was that one card?
That Poland card? Oh,
yeah, it can't get any worse than, you know. I guarantee you it gets no worse than that.
Existentially meaningless.
The one that lasted 18 hours? Whatever card that was.
Which card that lasted 15 hours? They all last that long.
No. This one like broke the record.
Aniko, what card is this?
Didn't it break the record for like it was the longest card?
Yeah.
Like every fight I think went to decision.
Ooh.
It's the one where, yeah, wasn't that the Til Cerrone card?
No, that was Poland.
Yeah, it was a Polish
No,
card.
because Poland had some finishes, didn't it? I don't remember. Like, no, Poland had the finish. It had the. Are we talking about Melbourne? With Verdum against Tibura?
No, not Moncton. Was it Moncton?
Oh, Moncton.
Was it Moncton?
Well, when I was here for Moncton, we were not happy, no. But I think that was because Aniko, like, just lost his mind with the Ed Herman Volante fight. And that was also the same weekend where they finalized the Askren Mighty Mouse trade.
Oh yeah, that was just not a good time for me.
I wasn't in a good place.
Dark times.
It might have been that Verdum Tibura card. All I remember is it was existentially meaningless and nothing mattered, and I hated it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I think it was Dan Hardy who was like quietly like tearing himself apart because he's like, this is the longest show in UFC history, and apparently the venue was really hot. So I was just like, poor dude.
Oh yeah, it was the Verdum Tibura card where we just all lost our shit.
Are we doing a worst card of the year, by the way? Because I like.
You can't, because that would get it by a landslide. It'd be no.
That was last year.
Last year. Well, I think the worst card of the year, like, I feel like any tough finale is a contender for worst card of the year.
See, I can't comment because I don't watch Tough.
I'm talking about the finales. The one that had like Edmund Shabazian and.
That was like, where does that rank in worst fight? Like, what's worst fight of the year?
Worst. Oh wow, we didn't even do. I've got a. I mean,
you know what? Let's get to our awards, and then at the end, depending on time, we'll just make up some last minute ones, and we'll just start handing them out on the spot.
All right, I have the worst fight of the year in front of me now.
I was gonna say something, but Annika would like throw a shoe at me.
All right, no, we gotta wait.
I will fight you. I don't know what you're gonna say, but I will fight you over it.
You probably have an idea of where I was going.
We can't throw shoes before the award ceremony.
You said worst fight of the year, and I was gonna ask for a caveat.
All right, let's kick off these awards. So this is the Dojo Talk Podcast 2018 awards. We'll be covering all of the great things and possibly not so great things that happened in the year of MMA and combat sports in 2018. So just for the listeners, how this will go, at least how I plan this to go, but things never go as planned, but we're going to try. These awards are not restricted to MMA. It can be boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, a world star fight. I don't care.
Wait, what?
If there was a world star fight that was a KO of the year, you could put it on there. You know, we wouldn't have their names, but we would put up a link or something. But I say that to say the awards were not restricted to MMA. We'll have obviously a winner for every category, and then honorable mentions. And we'll mention the honorable mentions first, and then we'll do the award winner, and that'll just, you know, you'll get it as we go. So I'm just gonna read these in the order that I have them listed on my sticky note, which is kind of out of control. So we're gonna start with the big one, fight of the year for 2018. I'll kick this one off. So this award for me actually just changed within the last hour because I went back.
That's like being decisive.
So I thought I had my number one like in the bag. Like I thought it was definitive. And then something told me today, like, let me go back and watch what I have on my list. And then I went back and watched them, and I changed my mind at the last second. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's completely fine. So my honorable mentions for Fight of the Year, which I only wrote down two, was Ong Lasong and Ken Hasegawa from One Championship. I don't know what event, but it was in One Championship. And Romero Whitaker 2 was my honorable mention. That was originally my winner, my like definitive winner. But after some flip-flopping and going back and watching fights, my fight of the year is going to go to Tenshin Nasukawa and Ratang, Lord, I'm going to butcher this name, Jitmunyang at Rise 125.
Really thought for a second you were gonna go somewhere else. And
no, I would never do that.
That's the way to be a man and stand up on your.
No.
We're killing this program. That's what you were trying to do right there.
I think Tenshin Ratang won for me because when I went back and watched both fights, like, don't get me wrong, like, the Whitaker-Romero fight is amazing. And, you know, anybody who has that fight of the year, you're not going to hear an argument from me. But I felt like the Tenshin Ratang fight was, like, more active throughout. Because there were parts of Whitaker-Romero, too, especially, like, the first round. There wasn't really a ton really going on. Like, Romero came out the first round and he kind of just stood there. And, you know, Whitaker, you know, he did what he does, kind of picking them apart. But there wasn't really... I feel like Whitaker-Romero, too, didn't really kick into, like, high gear until about midway through the fight. At least for me.
Started fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
When he actually started throwing back. Tenshin Ratang was action pretty much like the entire time. And then it actually went to an overtime. Even though... Even though I didn't think the Tenshin fight should have went to overtime. But, you know, I'm not a judge, so it is what it is. But, yeah, that fight for me was action-packed the entire way. Aside from the Floyd fight, which I don't even like mentioning, this was the first fight where we really saw Tenshin had to work for a win. Like, it was a really, really close fight. He fought somebody who was not going to go away and stood in his face the entire time. So that was my fight of the year, man. That fight was amazing to me. I've watched that fight a bunch of times. And it's just action-packed the entire way through. And I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed watching that. So my fight of the year is Tenshin Nasukawa versus Ratang Jitmunyang at Rise 125.
Yeah. All right, solid pick. So my pick is well, I guess we're doing honorable mentions first.
Yep.
Well, I didn't realize that we could actually do outside of MMA. So.
Yeah, it's a good point. You cheated.
I know.
Cheated on your own award show.
I put it on the notes.
Cheated on your own award show.
It's definitely in the message I sent. It was definitely in the message I sent both of y'all.
I'm just mad now.
It was the first sentence.
That's some cheatery.
Wait, I don't believe this.
It definitely
That's
is.
like you show up to play football and they're like, nah, it's two-hand touchdown.
I'm going to bring up the Twitter post.
I'm booing.
Because I think I sent you guys both the same post. I just screenshotted it.
Well, I can't read. So let's not.
Yeah, it's definitely in the notes. I'm looking at it. It was the first sentence.
That's some editing. That's some
Oh, shit, he's right. Wait, he's right.
Cool, buddy. Appreciate you, Anna. Cool.
Damn. I gotta learn.
I mean, we had the same thing last year, and you know, we made good use of it because you switched to last year. You had the what's the name fight?
Oh yeah, the
Klitschko.
The Klitschko Joshua fight, yeah. Well,
one fight there's one change I'm gonna make, but go on, sir.
Well, if we're doing, it doesn't change my fight of the year, so I'm gonna just do my honorable mentions, and I'm gonna work one boxing match in. If you guys haven't seen it, if you're a fan of MMA and you haven't watched boxing this year, the one fight you should probably go see is Jarrett Hurt versus Arslan Lara, which is really weird to think that Arslan Lara is in anything close to being fight of the year, but he is. Just watching Jarrett Hurt go zombie mode for 12 rounds as he marches down Lara and proceeds to just bomb on him repeatedly. But it was something to see. Probably helps that he's like 2 weight classes bigger than him, but that was that. Like if you haven't seen it already, go watch that fight. It's really great. What else? Let's see. My honorable mentions list, I had Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez, and believe me, that one will show up again later. Gaethje versus Poirier, Alvarez versus Poirier 2, Weidman versus Jacare,
which I'm actually watching right now.
Johnson versus Cejudo 2, and Rose versus Joanna. But my fight of the year is Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero 2. Yeah, Yoel Romero didn't make weight. Yeah, he didn't start fighting until the third round, but like that's why we love him. Because this is pure disdain for like anybody's rules but his own. And God's.
And God. Gotta throw God in there.
He is the soldier of God.
Right.
So, but just tremendous fight. Yoel Romero no-selling a head kick is just instantly one of the best moments in MMA history. Like it's one of the best title fights I've ever seen, even though it wasn't really for the title. There's nothing I can say about the fight that if you've seen it, you don't already know. Like, just pure grit on the part of Robert Whittaker, who hadn't fought for a year prior to that, because he won the title back in
almost July, so July to June.
Yeah.
And then didn't he break his hand in that fight?
He broke his everything.
His everything, yeah. I think he pretty much said, I never want to fight Robert Whittaker. I never want to fight Yoel Romero again because I break everything in my body doing it.
I mean, like, that took some years off his career, if we're being honest. So I'm like, he deserves it for that. Like, just a gutsy performance from both guys, and that's what you want when two guys are given like a big stage to do the damn thing and just fight. So props to both guys. Here's hoping Robert Whittaker's healthy in 2019.
That's it. That's your choice, huh?
Yes.
All right, so that was actually my fight of the year, or my top choice. But I did come up with a few other ones. The second one, which I'm surprised nobody mentioned, but may just be me still feeling it, is my number 2 was Brian Ortega against Max Holloway. Just the story going into that fight, what Holloway had been through, maybe amplified it a little bit for me. But the fight itself was really, 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 really good. And I feel like the 4th round is one of the greatest single round performances of any human being I've ever seen in MMA. Like, there's no round I can compare it to. There's no one round, maybe even like the Robbie Lawler style big fight rounds where he kind of comes out in the 5th round and goes crazy. I can't even think that those are accurate comparisons because Ortega pretty much, like, Holloway finished Ortega pretty much. So I have a hard time kind of finding a round where one dude says at the start of the round, I'm going to finish him here, and then proceeds to go out and throw everything perfectly. Like, just he didn't miss with anything. And it was just nonstop offense against a really good fighter, an undefeated good fighter. And I also think it gets forgotten that in the 3rd round, Ortega had a lot of success. Like, he really did mount some solid offense in that 3rd round. So you think about the 3rd round, you're going into the 4th round, and it's like, it could have been anybody's fight. And to see Holloway have that championship level performance where he just shut things down is unreal. Obviously, my top choice was Whittaker versus Romero. And I feel like Anna Cole said everything there is to say about it. When you draw up a championship fight, that's probably what it looks like. Granted, you would want a little bit more action, but one of the bigger things I think people forget about Rory McDonald, Robbie Lawler, the fight everybody loves, is that fans were booing like in the 2nd round of that fight. Because it takes some time for some guys to warm up. So it's not a big surprise that Yoel Romero was just like, all right, you do your thing, and then when I want to show up, I'm going to show up. So, like, sometimes that's what happens in title fights. I also had the Korean Zombie against Yair Rodriguez. And in a little bit of a surprise, because I think some people kind of know me, my 4th choice was Jeremy Stephens against Jose Aldo, which for my money was the best one-round fight of the year, at least in MMA. So, Stephens had a lot of success early in that 1st round, and then seeing, like, old-school Jose Aldo, the Aldo that, for a brief moment in time, we got to see the guy who ran through, like, Mike Brown and Manuel Gambarian and Cub Swanson. Like, for a brief period of time, we got to see that guy again. So that's probably one of my favorite that's one of my favorite 1-round performances that I've seen this year or last year. And it's weird because I don't think it's like, because now that you mentioned boxing, like I'm thinking about Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and it's like that's kind of not like it action-wise. It isn't the fight of the year, but I have a hard time thinking of a fight that's more tense.
Yeah.
Like a fight that's more memorable.
Yeah, like it wasn't. It's like wasn't a great fight, but it was a great fight at the same time.
You know what I think it is about that fight? It's just so easy to follow. In
Yes.
terms of just like, you know what the narrative is going in, and it played out exactly like you thought it would if you were on the outside looking in, even if you had like a rudimentary understanding of boxing.
So also another one on my list is Kelvin Gastelum against Jacare. I went with a different Jacare fight. Jacare has that amazing first round. Gastelum has probably the best second round, and then the third round is just like Kelvin Gastelum eating every right hook that's thrown his way while marching into punching range to get to Jacare, who's trying his 40-something-year-old heart out. And it's a really great back and forth fight. One of the funner fights that I remember this year. So that was it. But it seems like we got 2 for Whitaker Romero, and then one guy who broke the rules to create his own his own thing.
Oh man!
When you're the host,
It's
you get
crazy.
to make up the rules.
Yeah, these are the perks you get. It comes in the podcast host package.
It absolutely is in the message, by the way, but I don't think any of us actually.
I just got to the categories. It's like I
Yeah,
know
I
the
kinda
rules.
did too.
I know the rules.
This Jacare Weidman
it's like
fight
when you
was
go to
really
Japan
good.
and you're like, "What do you mean I can't throw elbows?"
God, this Jacare Weidman fight was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm watching this now, like while I just have Fight Pass on this whole podcast.
I didn't watch all of the fights, but I wanted to get a second look at Jacare Gastelum, and I'm like, you know what? It really does hold up. Like, it's a great fight.
It is.
Jacare had a hell of a year.
He did.
Will he
He
win
did.
Fighter of the Year? We're gonna have to find out if we can ever get to it.
Oh, real quick, because I forgot about it. Marat Gassiev versus Yunir Dotikos, what was it, the semifinal or the final for the semifinal? One of the semifinals for the World Boxing Super Series. Another great fight.
Just making people up now.
Yeah. I mean, Dotikos. Sponsored by Doritos. Yeah, no, like another great fight, 12th round knockout.
Mm-hmm.
Just tremendous action. Like if you like watching big men throw punches at one another and then standing in a phone booth, like that's the fight for you.
All right. Moving on. You know, we got all the good. We do all the major categories first. So, next category, KO of the year. This was probably the most fun to research, but then I found in researching this that there are like 80,000 honorable mentions. So I had to like stop looking at highlight videos. Like I went and looked at boxing KOs alone this year, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't know how many there were.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to stop myself from looking at highlight videos because there's so many honorable mentions that I can't even like remember. But it was a great year for KOs across pretty much every combat sport. But my 2 honorable mentions was Lyoto Machida front kicking Vitor Belfort. My other honorable mention was in one championship in one of their Muay Thai fights. It was Yad Sinclair Fairtex, who landed a triple uppercut against Luis Regis. It was a triple uppercut. I don't really know how else to describe it. He literally just spammed an uppercut 3 times until Luis died. But KO of the year, man. Yair versus Korean Zombie. I've never seen somebody duck and land a back elbow. As much as like it hurts me, I don't like seeing that picture of Korean Zombie who's just like laid out on the floor, and he looks like Mufasa after he got hit by the stampede. Like he's just laying there. I don't like seeing that picture, but my God, that KO was, boy, it was just the setup was so crazy because the fight was almost over. and they pull the whole, well, let's just throw down for the last like 10 seconds. All right, let's do it. And then you get elbowed. Like I've never seen anything like that. So yeah, this for me was a no-brainer. Yair back elbow, ducking back elbow against Korean Zombie.
Yeah, I had trouble picking KO of the year. There was just so many great ones. Like even Bellator had like a couple of good ones. Like they weren't there wasn't as much weight to it, but watching Bandejas just sweet chin music, freaking Gallagher at the side of the face that was the good stuff right there. Aaron Pico knocking out that guy.
that guy who caught the body shot.
Crutchton, the Marine. And one of the most bizarre, I guess, marketing / promotional moves ever.
I mean, it's a bad idea to have the Marine on the fight for the troops. Was it the fight for the troops card that he had?
I don't think it was, but it might have been. Just have the Marine go out there and get knocked out by the guy who's supposed to be representing America.
That's how you do it.
At the Olympics. Like, maybe not the best move promotionally, but it made for a great knockout. Derek Lewis knocking out Alexander Volkov after getting his ass kicked for like 14 minutes. Like you said, Machida Belfort. Jessica Andrade just absolutely ruining Karolina Kovacevich's life.
Dude, I forgot that was the thing.
Oh, I just remember that. Yeah.
Somebody posted it on Twitter, and then I got really sad.
Let's all be depressing right now.
All right, I got one to lift your spirits. What Yoel Romero did to Luke Rockhold. Yeah, that's up there.
Yikes.
It also lifted Rockhold's head 7 inches off his shoulders.
He lifted.
If there was no
his whole
cage,
body off the ground.
If there was no cage, that his head would.
It's like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Like the only thing close to it that I can compare it to is Francis Ngannou just freaking tearing Alistair Overeem's head clean off his shoulders.
But I think it's worse because Overeem was upright, whereas Rockhold looks like he's forlorn, and then it's like Yoel Romero again, a man who makes his own rules, was just like, let's give him one more.
It sounded like a shotgun went off.
Yeah. A little kiss, and then afterwards, lifts him, confronts him in the corner and kisses him on the cheek and tells him he loves him.
It hurt me more than it hurt you.
It's so abusive. Amanda Nunes knocking out Chris Cyborg for last minute contender.
I'm gonna have to talk after this. That I'm still thinking about that Rockhold Romero thing.
But Sensei, I gotta agree with you, man. Like Korean Zombie, Yair Rodriguez. That's an all-timer across all sports. Just from narrative-wise, there's a dude who, 2-3 months earlier got cut by his boss and publicly defamed. Takes this fight on short notice. He had a week or two? I think
11 days. 11 days.
11 days to get ready for a guy who's a stylistic nightmare for him, and then proceeds to, in the very last second of the fight, a fight where he's down probably at least 3 rounds to 1 on the cards, proceeds to land a back elbow while he is facing the ground, not even looking at his opponent. That might be the greatest knockout we've ever seen. It just hits all the boxes. I don't think we're ever gonna see anything like it ever again.
Unless he tops it with something else.
And freaking just lands a tornado kick on Max Holloway.
Right. Oh man. All right, Joey, what you got?
So most of the good ones were already taken. I would say there's been a lot of great finishes. I like the Volkanovski Mendez. It wasn't a clean KO, but I like the shot he set up to get Mendez to face plant basically. Khalil Roundtree against Gokhan Saki. I put that on my list.
Ooh.
I try to forget about that.
UFC 226, I believe. I wanted to put Garbrandt Dillashaw on the list, but Stokes might listen, so I didn't. Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold was on my list. Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkanovski, Kalen Hill against Andre Walker from LFA. The back fist that knocked the dude into a Smash Brothers style fly off the screen.
Ooh, yeah, I forgot all about that. Shit.
And my number one, Yair Rodriguez, Korean Zombie, in what is going to be a continuous theme of the night. Nothing else I can say. So that's the easiest one. Just you'll never have a situation play out that perfectly.
That's never gonna be replicated ever. Like the next person that tries to do that is gonna duck for the elbow and fall. It's just not gonna work.
There's actually a really interesting, not a backstory, but an interesting part of that. Yair Rodriguez said he learned it from Donald Cerrone, and there was a discussion that he just made that up. But someone found a gif of Cerrone trying the same elbow against Jeremy Stevens. And the difference is that Stevens is on the other side of where the elbow goes. But if he's on the right side, he hits it, flush. So he probably really did learn it from Cowboy Cerrone.
Wow.
I wish I still had the gif of it. So
look at Cowboy imparting knowledge on the youth.
On the youth?
Well, he's got the old man beard now.
I was going to say the youth, but Yair Rodriguez probably, he really is 22, 23, right? So yeah. He's been in the UFC since 2014. He just
he got there when he was 20.
Yeah, so he's it's just weird because you think of him as a veteran at this point, but he's still decent.
It's funny, speaking of, I think it was prior to recording where we were bashing Tough. His Tough fight was awesome. Wasn't he tough? I forgot what it was.
Tough Latin America?
Latin America season 1.
His Tough fight was amazing. I remember watching it, and I didn't know how far he could go because he was just doing a bunch of video game moves, but I knew I enjoyed it.
I guess since we mentioned Tough Latin America, I might as well stay on brand. Chito Vera against Guido Canetti in Argentina. Repeated knees against the fence will never not be entertaining, so thumbs up to him as well for honorable mention.
There we go. So, Yair takes the clean sweep of KO of the year. Yeah, you just good luck on anybody trying to top that ever. Next category, submission of the year. So this is probably where I'm going to lose a lot of people, and that's fine. This for me was kind of hard to research because I couldn't. When Mighty Mouse did the Mighty Armbar, you kind of just knew nobody's going to beat that. We've never even really seen that before. This year, not that I could think of off the top of my head, I couldn't really think of any submissions that really stood out, but I also have terrible memory. So there could have been a lot of great ones that probably just didn't make my list at all. But my two honorable mentions, which were actually both the same, was the Aljamain Sterling knee bar, and then on that same card, Zabit knee bar against Brandon Davis.
Damn.
Those are my two honorable.
Oh, that's your honorable mention. Okay, never mind. Go on.
Yeah. You probably won't be thrilled with what won.
Let's find out.
My submission of the year, which is a card we literally just reviewed last week, comes from Ryzen 14, and this won because I've never seen this before. Yuki Motoya's TP choke over Justin Scoggins. I didn't know what a TP choke was until last week. I'd never seen it before. I didn't know that was a thing.
A TP choke. I thought you said something else.
No.
I was about to say, you could see those if you look right.
But, Yuki Motoya hit a TP choke against Justin Scoggins. I guess if I can describe what this looks like for people who don't know, I don't know, he squeezed Justin Scoggins' head like a Mortal Kombat fatality while pulling his head down to add more pressure, I guess. It looked very painful. Yeah, that's my submission of the year because I've never seen that before. And I did think of adding Ryan Hall and BJ Penn, but it was because he beat BJ Penn that I couldn't. But that was a beautiful roll into that heel hook or whatever it was, but it was against BJ Penn, so I had to dock points. But yeah, my submission of the year, Yuki Motoya's TP choke against Justin Scoggins at Ryzen 14.
That's a good one. I even considered putting it on there. I actually blocked out my memory after we recorded that podcast. not because I'm a huge Justin Scoggins fan, just because I tend to forget things as soon as we talk about them. Because that's the only way I stay sane, or at least my version of sane. So, no, that's a really good one. One of my honorable mentions. Speaking of Ryzen 14, was Kyoji Horiguchi guillotining Darren Caldwell.
This is why it sucks to go last.
Was that your answer?
But my 3 of the 4 submissions I have already been listed. So we're in a poo-poo space right now.
All right, well, next category we'll switch up. We'll let you go second.
Yeah, you can go. You can take my spot or Sensei's spot.
No, it's really not a big deal. It's just like shit. I'm just gonna repeat everything these guys say, huh? Which I'm fine with because Anti-Cole tends to emphasize things the way I wish I could. So
yeah,
pat yourself on the back. Why not? Right?
I'm great. I'm amazing. But like Caldwell is a top 10, top 15 talent at bantamweight. We can argue about what I guess resume and everything like that. But I feel secure saying that if he was in the UFC, he'd be a top 10, top 15 type of guy. And to have Kyoji Horiguchi just basically, I guess you could say move up, because I know they met the weird whatever limit that kilograms translates over to pounds over here in the States, but dude just guillotined the Bellator bantamweight champion. He's a flyweight. Like that's pretty tremendous. Even Caldwell's the type of dude who actively seeks getting himself submitted, a la Joe Tamingo. So I found that really impressive. It didn't quite have like the style points that I like to see with submission of the year. I always like to see something a little funkier, a little weirder, maybe a little bit more dramatic. My actual submission of the year was Aljamain Sterling over Cody Stamann, because while it wasn't as pretty as the beats, and Zabit's was like locked in all the way. He has his leg all the way across like Brandon Davis's like hip. I think just the measure of, okay, this is the first time it's been done in the UFC, or at least the first time it's been done in like 10, 15 years. It had that mix of that and Cody Stamann's actual top 15 bantamweight, as opposed to Brandon Davis, who probably shouldn't be in the UFC.
How dare you?
I mean, let's just be real. I'm just like,
I think Aljamain's to me look a lot more painful too.
Yeah, like I think was Stamann the one who was like screaming in pain?
Yeah, Stamann. Bad shape.
Yeah, like so. That's my submission of the year. I had a couple other ones on here, but I'm gonna see if Joey mentions them first.
All right.
The space.
Yeah. No, you have my number one. We're there together. Aljamain Sterling versus Cody Stamann. The smoothness and the fluidity of Aljamain Sterling, plus just the post-fight madness where Stamann sounded like he was being like torn apart. Like it was awful. My honorable mentions under that were, this one I know is going to be controversial, but again, we had a conversation about this off air. Khabib versus Conor McGregor has to be there just because it's so significant. It's not the flashiest, but it'll be the submission everybody remembers when 2018 is brought up. Like, that's the big one. I also had Kyoji Horiguchi against Darren Caldwell. To show that I'm a man who's not afraid to hurt myself, I had Michael Chiesa's Kimura against Carlos Condit, where he pretty much just it hurt me.
That was a really dope submission though.
Wait, what?
That was alright.
like just on style, that was a really dope submission.
Yeah, and then it was also like a heart attack because it made me feel really bad.
Like 4.5 out of 10.
Well, I was sick. Yeah, I'm with you there. And lastly, I'm surprised nobody mentioned this, but then again, also not surprised. I just put Alexei Oleinik's 2018. Hold on. He had the Oleinik choke.
Ezekiel choke.
Yeah, the Ezekiel choke against Junior Albini, which a guy with head that small, imagine hitting that choke. And then Mark Hunt in Russia, where he pretty much got boxed up for about 2 minutes and then stunned Mark Hunt and submitted him. So I couldn't put Oleinik for Fighter of the Year, so I wanted to give him a little bit of love in the Submission of the Year category.
See, I actually did. I had him on my short list with the Ezekiel choke.
It's just such a weird choke. Like, you have to almost kind of give it due props. But
it's a choke you're not supposed to be able to do without a gi. Or like some piece of clothing.
Special man.
It's just that Oleinik's that right mix of just like bulky enough and limber enough to do it.
Which is amazing when you consider that he's like 57 years old in real time.
See, this is why I'm glad I have you guys on here with me, because you guys remember all the submissions that I completely forgot existed.
Well, here's one that I had on my short list for drama, or at least how dramatic it was. Paul Craig over Magomed Ankalaev.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Oh, the last Hail Mary.
That was a 14:59 mark triangle submission choke.
Yeah.
He hit. Yeah, like that's up there. Like, just for how dramatic it is. And then just because I don't want to be like just a UFC stickler, I had Paddy Pimblett hitting his flying triangle over Alexis was it Salidas in Cage Warriors. So yeah, not like there wasn't no like I mentioned this to Sensei like last week because we were brainstorming like Submission of the Year winners. Like there was no helicopter armbar this year. But there was some, but there was some cool stuff. So,
yeah, I think we did good. We gave a lot of people props who I forgot. So, yeah, we covered everybody. I think everybody who was worthy got a good note. All right, this next category. This one was a little challenging. Performance of the year. So for performance of the year, basically, not technically the best fight, but just the performance that impressed us the most. To be honest, this is another category where I kind of, and even watching fights today, I'm thinking of more fights I could have added to my honorable mentions. Like, I think Jacare Weidman could have went here for me for Jacare. But my two honorable mentions that I had was Max Holloway's performance against Brian Ortega, and oh god, correct me if this fight actually happened this year. Was Lomachenko Linares? That was this year.
Yes.
Yeah, May 28th.
Okay, I was gonna feel really dumb because I definitely I had that as an honorable mention. My winner of performance of the year, I gave her this award because I would feel so wrong if I went through this whole award show and she had not won some category. I just would have not felt good about myself. So my performance of the year is going to Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg. Because I don't know any other people in history who brawled with Chris Cyborg and lived to tell about it. Not only did she live to tell about it, like, she won. And this is the only fight this year that I watched and I literally yelled at the TV. Like, I lost my voice for like 5 minutes after the fight was over. Like, I couldn't believe what I just saw. I don't really know what else to say. That was just like a historic moment. I'll never forget like where I was. I'm glad I was around other people watching that fight, and like the whole room just exploded when Cyborg face planted. So yeah, my performance of the year is going to Amanda Nunes against Chris Cyborg.
Joe, you can go next.
All right. I should start with a few honorable mentions, I guess. Tony Ferguson against Anthony Pettis, for obvious reasons. And I know I'm a bit of a Ferguson guy, but I think that the story with that fight is tremendous. Khabib Nurmagomedov against Al Iaquinta. And I guess with performance of the year, I kind of took it beyond just how good did you fight, but like what you were fighting. And Khabib Nurmagomedov went through like 5 different opponents that week. and to still go out there and do what you do against a really quality lightweight, I took my hat off to him. Israel Adesanya against Derek Brunson, say no more, so to speak. But my top three were Tyron Woodley against Darren Till. That was my number 3 option. Till may have his flaws, but he's a big, strong welterweight, undefeated, hit really hard, and Woodley just shut him down. Did what he did, really, neutralized him, and then finished him. I have a ton of respect for that. And I'm not the biggest Woodley guy, so that means a lot. Tatiana Suarez against Carla Esparza. I don't think there's ever been a women's fight beatdown as violent and brutal as that one. Suarez, I go back and forth about what Suarez's upside as a star is, but that was a star-making performance. That was a great fight. And my number 1, this guy's going to pop up. This guy's already popped up a few times. Yair Rodriguez against the Korean Zombie. Anna Cole ran through it pretty well. 11 days notice. He had previously been cut from the UFC. He had to basically beg Sean Shelby to talk to Dana White to kind of start conversating again about coming back to the UFC. He had offers to go elsewhere, came back to the UFC. They worked that out. Took that fight on 11 days notice. Another part of that fight that I think doesn't get remembered in the entire narrative was he hurt his foot like a minute into the fight. So he basically fought that fight on one leg. So much so, in fact, that after the fight, they had to basically like carry him out of the octagon. So you take all those factors in. You consider the fact that it was a great fight. You consider the fact that it was at altitude, that it was on short notice against a guy who's ridiculous. And then the knockout, last second, Hail Mary kind of finish. Yair Rodriguez had my performance of the year.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of that one to add to my short list, but that's actually a really good one. Yeah, just because of the circumstances, not just because, but including the circumstances around it. So I think I look at performance of the year a little differently, like. And I've had this is actually the one I've had the hardest time defining, because I'm just like there are like so many circumstances inside the cage and outside the cage, and like just looking at it like what our preconceived notions of what fighters are good at are. So like, for example, like John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 2 is that one of my honorable mentions. The only one of the reasons I like is one, like Joe, you pointed this out and you're right up the week before. Like Gus is really hit or miss, and he hadn't fought in over a year by the time the title fight was actually made. He didn't look like he was in the greatest shape.
Yeah, like he that was something that I noticed really quickly. Like, just to back that up, he had like a tire.
Yeah. So like,
I don't mean that disrespectfully. He was punchy. He was paunchy.
Yeah. But like seeing the growth of John Jones from like that first Gus fight to this fight, like it's never been more evident. Like, and like that. Those are reasons why I didn't end up picking Jones as like the performance of the year, but. Like, it's the type of fight that shows you John Jones is like might be the smartest fighter in the UFC, because he went back and just fixed all the problems he had, or found a way to hide them better. And it's one of those performances that just show you like, okay, this man is just so far ahead of the meta game of what's going on in MMA right now. It's just ridiculous. Another honorable mention I had Khabib Nurmagomedov over Conor McGregor. Why I chose this in particular, besides him actually going on the feet with McGregor and beating him there, or at least knocking him down, him forcing his game plan and onto McGregor. And one of the things McGregor's never actually been like dominated in a fight throughout his entire career. He loses fights like in the moment. Like the Nate Diaz fight, he did not lose from bell to submission. He lost from like basically from the time that Nate started landing jabs in like the second round, and he got panicked and shot a double leg. We don't see McGregor just like lose whole parts of fights the way he did in this one, where he arguably didn't win a round. Like I think he won like the third round, the judges' scorecard or something. But Khabib just completely shutting down McGregor's offense, like making him look silly in spots, like, and then getting the finish in the fourth round after letting him go into his area of expertise and not even surviving, just competing with him there. Like that deserves an honorable mention. The reason I didn't give it to him ultimately is because McGregor had fought in like 2 years. Like, and I'm not counting that Floyd fight. And like he was the lightweight champion, but at the same time, he's pretty untested at lightweight. Like Eddie Alvarez is a dude who, since he got to the UFC, I've been saying should probably be fighting at like featherweight. He is like, by UFC standards, he was a really small lightweight and a stylistic I don't want to say layup, but like McGregor's whole style is built to beat dudes like Alvarez. So I found him like a bit untested at lightweight. So I found it hard to get Khabib like the performance of the year edge there. So I ended up going with Max Holloway over Ortega. Just narratively, like Max Holloway just had the hardest time staying healthy. He apparently got drugged like before his last scheduled appearance against Ortega. He shows up in New York on like a week's notice just to try to get a fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov and ends up falling through. And then he comes out and puts on the best performance of his career. Like how can you bet against that? Like, it's just amazing all the way around. Against a guy who's undefeated, young, and just like has the heart of a lion.
Ace Frankie Edgar, tremendous finisher. Yeah, I could see that. I think that's actually it's a really good one.
Yeah, you will get no argument from me.
Got real somber, like Ortega died after the fight or something. Like,
I mean,
it just felt quiet. Like we were all just remembering him.
Like, we were just
a part of me died after that fight.
You rarely feel bad for a guy who goes out there and like lays on the line like that. And
see, I got a completely different take on that, but we're gonna get to that later.
Yeah.
Don't you dare diss Ortega on this podcast.
Well, my point being, like, you're more elated for the other guy, but like, after the fight, I was just worried for Brian Ortega.
Oh, no. Anna Cool is absolutely right in that regard. Like, that is not there are two ways to look at that, and I think he's looking at it the fairer way.
So like, I picked Max Holloway because all the things going on, had an undefeated opponent in front of him with, like, I guess there was a rubric to beat him or a path to beat him, because to this day, I'm 100% sure Brian Ortega's never won a round in the UFC on a judge's scorecard.
I think he won the third in that fight, didn't he? Or am I not remembering correctly?
No, the judges had him down 4-1.
Jesus Christ. Well, that's what I had him, but okay. In that third, I had him losing the third round, but everybody else was yelling at me that he should have won it. So
I think it's because it's like one of those things when you start doing good, people just like over.
I mean, he definitely hurt Holloway.
Yeah,
but Holloway,
he stunned him.
Like, it's a minor inconvenience.
But like by the back end of the round, Holloway was back in control.
Yeah.
You'll get no argument from me though. That was a jaw-dropping performance too. Like that was one of those, like, my soul hurt for Ortega, but I was looking at Max like, oh, he really is as good as people say he is.
He just went out there and pitched the perfect game. Like,
yeah, he that dude, he's on another level. He's one of those guys I look at him like he's different. He's different. So yeah, those are our performances of the year. Oh my God, this next category. I'm still like flipping my answer right now.
Which is
so I'm gonna have
Fighter of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next category, man. Fighter of the
I
Year.
got 3. Now that we're opening it up to other sports.
I have 3
this
as well,
was
but I
hard.
didn't open it up to another sport.
This was hard. This was really, really, really hard
Yeah,
for me.
I agree. And I think it was hard because nobody really had a dominant... Like, everybody fought like twice tops. So it was hard to really find some guys who... And gals, of course, who had years where you're just like, you know what? That was the... Like, they're on another level. Because, like, really, if you think about the big fights, not many people had big fights over and over. So it was a difficult year for me.
I think I'm. It really hurts me to do this. I think I'm gonna switch this out too.
It's a podcast. Make up the
pains-
rules as you go along, pal.
It pains me to do.
Technically, though, if you don't say it out loud, we don't know.
Right? Yeah. No, yeah. You guys don't know. You don't see my sticky note. But yeah, I'm gonna have to switch mine out. It hurts my soul to do this.
You can pick.
So my honorable mentions. He would deserve a good, even though it was only... No, he fought twice in 2018, didn't he? Or 3 times.
I'm pretty
Tyson
sure
Fury.
he had the fight that when I was on the podcast where you were enamored with him watching the fight in the crowd.
Yeah, that was this. Yeah, he fought like 2 times this year.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he'd be a candidate. I'll throw him in there as an honorable mention. He wasn't on my list, but whatever. He's an honorable mention. Tyson Fury. My other honorable mentions were Daniel Cormier,
Wow.
Alima Leigh McFarland, and oh my God, this is gonna hurt me. This hurts my soul. I don't want to do it to him, but Thiago Santos is an honorable mention. I wanted to give him Fighter of the Year so bad.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
You don't have to feel bad about that.
I wanted to give him Fighter of the Year so bad, and if it wasn't for the fact that the GOAT Dave Branch did knock him out, he would have got it. He definitely would have got it. Like, he would have got it just off of principle that, like, he brought so much fun back in the 205. I mean, it's just him, but you know, any fight that he's involved in at 205 is just
chaos.
You know, yeah, it just, he made that division. I started looking, well, I can't say I look forward to that division because it's just him, but like, just like we've been making fun of 205 and probably will continue to make fun of 205 for years to come. But like, when he's involved in the 205 fight, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to watch now. Like, he's been nothing but, if there was like an all violence team in the UFC, he's like number 1. He's fought 5 times this year. He went 4-1 with the only loss coming to Dave Branch. I wanted to give it to him so bad. But I'm gonna give my Fighter of the Year to Israel Adesanya.
Ooh.
Interesting.
He went 4-0 in the UFC. Coming over from kickboxing, even though he had been fighting in MMA. But like, we've seen other kickboxers, you know, come into the UFC. A la, we mentioned Gokhan Saki earlier, who life didn't go well for him his last fight. But I think with just like every performance he had, he got better and better. And like, I feel like you can't, as much as like I wanted him to do good, like I was one of those guys that like after, I think it was the Vettori fight, that when they leaped him from Vettori to Brad Tavares, I was like, whoa, we might need to pump the brakes here. Like, the guy's good, but you know, this might be, you know, we might be doing too much. Nope, we're not doing too much. He did just fine. And then we all saw what he did to Derek Brunson. Like, I think he came in for me and just like exceeded, like I knew he was good, but when guys come over from other sports, and like I said, albeit it's not like MMA was foreign to him, but I mean, I'm not sure these guys who he was fighting, no disrespect to him, but who is
Melvin Guard.
In 2017, yeah, who was Melvin Gillard in 2017?
He fought Batman.
Like,
Tyson Fury?
Brazilian Batman, whose real name escapes me.
Oh man,
doesn't sound like Tyson Fury to me.
He's also a 155er though, so go figure. But
like, I just think he undefeated this year. his competition steadily, I think, just got better with every fight. And I mean, if we're being honest, albeit like, yeah, Rob Wilkinson and Vettori aren't like world beaters, but like on paper, style wise, these were fights that he could have lost. Like Vettori could have easily been a fight where like maybe he lands like a good 2-piece to start the round, then gets taken down, grinded out, you know, for like a decision loss. And now we're looking at him in the prospect kind of funny now because like, oh, he had all this hype. Like I think these were fights that weren't like. These weren't tailor-made for him, in my opinion. Like, these were fights that I think any other, like, elite-level kickboxing prospect could have lost. Like, you could have just gotten taken down, and this conversation could have went completely different. And most of these guys, for the most part, he shut down. Like, yeah. I don't really know what else to say. For me, he exceeded what I thought he was going to do. I didn't think he would shoot to the top so quick. But I mean, after the Tavares fight, after you beat Tavares, you can't go back to fighting the, you know, Vettoris and Wilkinsons of the world. You kind of just have to move forward from that. And he went on to Brunson, and he styled on him, and now he's about to fight Anderson Silva. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's that. We haven't gotten there yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think he's had an incredible year, albeit, you know, he's not in any major title fights. But I just think as like a new face in the UFC, he's been in fights that he could have easily slipped up in. And like I said, like some of these fights could have went the other way. And we could be looking at him kind of funny right now. But he's exceeded every expectation. And when the competition got tougher, he got better. So off of that, I'll give him, he was my fighter of the year.
Joe, you can go.
All right. So fighter of the year, as I said previously, was hard for me because I normally like to see guys who are really active. I think your activity level plus your competition level should always kind of equal obvious fighter of the year candidates. This year, most guys did not fight that often. Most guys and gals did not fight that often. My honorable mentions kind of relate that. Amanda Nunes only fought twice, but Cyborg was such a big win. And I probably would have put her in my top 3 or close to the top if the Rocky Pennington fight wasn't the worst fight I've ever seen all time all my life. Sorry, jokingly, but it was a bad fight. Kamaru Usman went 3-0 this year. The problem is that Emil Mech, not really that great. Damian Maia was coming off 2 straight losses. RDA was coming off a loss. So even those performances were dominant, I couldn't put him in my top 3. I did have Thiago Santos in my top 3. I do not regret it. 4-1 this year. Finished every win he had. Violence galore. Oh, no, he didn't finish every win he had, but he pretty much probably could have finished Holland if he wanted to. Violence galore. A man of all people. Just a tremendous human being. I will not allow anybody to talk bad about Thiago Santos. He's in my top 3. Number 2 is Dustin Poirier. The Justin Gaethje win and the Eddie Alvarez win, and had he fought Nate Diaz and won, he would have absolutely been my fighter of the year. My number 1 choice, though, again, how often you fight plus your quality of competition, Daniel Cormier. Started the year with a win over Volkan Oezdemir, defended his title, or re-won his title. Took on Stipe Miocic, who, to be completely honest, has a justifiable argument for top heavyweight of all time. Finished him. Then the Derek Lewis performance is probably the weirdest one and the most impressive one because he took the Lewis fight while hurt, had a bad hand. We all know about chaos with UFC top fights, how things tend to fall apart. This was a fight that Cormier could have lost just on the basis of the fact that it's a fight the UFC truly thought he could win. Like, Derek Lewis is a heavy hitter, and it's short notice where anything can happen, and neither guy is going to have a great gas tank because of the fact that it's on like 2 weeks' notice, and he just dominated Derek Lewis and finished him. Cormier is my fighter of the year in a very weird class. I would have put Khabib in there as well, but A, I forgot about him, and I'm honest enough to admit that I forgot about him, and B, I feel like everything about that UFC 228 Khabib-Conor deal was so toxic, 229 deal was so toxic in nature that I kind of almost want to forget that both guys fought that year. So That's Daniel Cormier is my guy, but it's not the strongest fighter of the year class ever. So, Annika, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with honorable mentions because I got 3 fighters at the top, and I'm gonna rank them. But first, honorable mentions: Khabib. I know you like it's just weird now that Al Iaquinta win in hindsight, but it turns out it was actually a really good win.
Yeah.
Connor still coming off for 2 years. Just I don't know, just some like you said, like it just felt weird putting him as fighter of the year after everything that's gone on regarding like stuff that's happened in and outside the cage. So, some stuff beyond his control, some stuff completely within his control. Dustin Poirier, he was on my short list of guys I was considering. Jessica Andrade, who beat Tisha Torres and Karolina Kowalkiewicz this year.
That's a good choice.
I had Thiago Santos on my short list, like you guys, and I also had Kyoji Horiguchi, who tremendous year, as well. Like fought 3 times this year in MMA. He also fought in kickboxing and lost, but that don't count. Kickboxing is not real. But
there goes my fight of the year.
Fight of the, that's what you get. That's what you get for changing the rules and giving yourself a fight of the year.
I mean, if you can change the fight of the year, I can change what's real and what's fake. That's how it goes. So I had Kyoji Horiguchi on my short list, but top 3, if I had to rank them in some type of order, at number 2 would be Amanda Nunes, just for knocking out Chris Cyborg, and probably like most other years, that's just enough to be fighter of the year. But Daniel Cormier, just tremendous year, was active, beat arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, at least the greatest UFC heavyweight champion of all time. Be a young, I'm not sure if game's the right word for Volkan Ozdemir, but be the young contender who
game worked because he was obviously willing to fight. Like that, he was game. He just wasn't very good.
Yeah, sad. But be Volkan most importantly after that soul crushing loss and just chaos and stupidity that came after that to John Jones the previous year, like to bounce back from that and then beat Ozdemir. That shows a little bit of test of character for him. And then being Derek Lewis on short notice after he sneezed so hard that he threw off his back. That same one.
which is like a big old man injury. So that's really impressive that he overcame age once again. Yeah.
But he ties for my number 1 because I couldn't pick between the two. The other dude is Alexander Usyk, cruiserweight boxing champion. Won the World Boxing Super Series tournament featuring the top 8 cruiserweights on the planet. He beat Maris Bradis and Murat Gassiev to do it, and then he goes out and beats Tony Bellew to unify all the cruiserweight titles. So just tremendous year. Sets himself up for a big run at heavyweight if that's what he wants. Just like I'm looking forward to that, and it's just it'd be nice if some of these other guys in boxing were this active. Like I think the only other and this active and fought the top competition, I guess, because like Terrence Crawford was active this year, but like he fought Benavidez, who was coming back after being shot in the leg, and like Benavidez, who wasn't even like a top 10 fighter when he left at welterweight. So so it would be hard for me to give Canelo anything because he beat Golovkin, and I'm not one of those people who's mad at the decision, but like his next big win is like Rocky Fielding. His only other win is Rocky Fielding, so so that's all I got. So top fighter, of the Year, tied between Daniel Cormier and Alexander Usyk.
There you have it. I feel like I'm gonna get the most slack out of these picks.
I mean,
But
it's your
fine.
picks.
See, but here's the thing: like every pick is at least like you're not just throwing names out there. Like you're explaining why. Even the picks where I'm like, I'm not 100% sold on your. Like we're gonna talk about Israel Adesanya in a bit, but like even that pick, you have logic and reason behind. So I don't understand why anybody would get mad. Yeah, unless you're just one of those dudes who wants to be mad.
I had plenty of those.
Someone's gonna be
Yeah.
mad that I didn't pick Conor McGregor for Fight of the Year.
No, I could see people being mad because Khabib wasn't picked, but like
Yeah.
I think our reasoning for Khabib not being the fighter of the year is fair.
Actually, real quick, before I forget, I wanted to piggyback and double back. I don't know if you guys mentioned this for Performance of the Year. I gotta throw this in as an honorable mention. Ally Quinta against Kevin Lee.
Did not, but that's a good one too.
Yeah, because that was a performance that like I just didn't really see coming. I wasn't ready for that, and when it happened, I was like, "Oh, I was completely wrong about this fight. 1,000% wrong about how that fight was gonna go." So I got to go back and give him a shout out. All right, so those are some of the more serious categories. Now on to one that's a little, I can't really say lighthearted, but this next category is called the Don't Do That Award.
Okay.
And this will go to this award is basically something that we don't really want to see in MMA or just combat sports in general in 2019. I couldn't spend a lot of time thinking about this because if I did, I'd have to cancel the entire sport. And I don't want to, and I don't want to do that because I need something to record and talk about. So I can't cancel everything. So I'm gonna say, let me preface this also by saying I'm hypocritical with this award because if it happens, I'm gonna watch it. I shouldn't watch it, but I'm gonna watch it. But in 2019, man, can we leave the old guys alone? Like, can we not put old guys against other old guys who are like near death? Can we just like not make that a thing? You know what I almost put for the Don't Do That Award? I almost put all of just Golden Boy MMA as the Don't Do That Award. But I felt like that wouldn't be fair to people on the undercard because they didn't have anything to do with it. But,
I mean, that would be fair because BJ Penn fought like a month later.
Yeah, right. But can we? I know it's not gonna happen. This is wishful thinking. I just wish MMA was just kind of like the NFL and NBA are kind of rude with this, but I get it. Like I feel like in other sports, when you're old, they force you out by just not picking up the phone anymore when you call. You know, you start. You know, you're a free agent and you think you're hot on the streets. You think you're still you know, the best thing since sliced bread. Monday goes by, phone doesn't ring. Tuesday goes by, phone doesn't ring. You know, by Thursday, your phone has cobwebs.
Phone's cut off. 'Cause you can't pay it.
Yeah, you just didn't pay the bill. Your agent left. You know, if that's what it takes in MMA to not have like another Chuck and Tito incident, you know, that's, you know, don't stop. Just no more old guys versus old guys. We don't need to see this anymore. Like, we just don't. Nobody needs to sit through that ever again. And I don't mean it just for them two in particular. Just, if there's an old guy that's over the hill, don't make him fight another old guy that's over the hill.
Make him fight a young guy.
Just don't make him fight. Like, just don't, when he calls your phone, don't pick up. Or pick up and tell him no. Like, tell him stop. Tell him to go sit down with his family. If he doesn't have a family, tell him to go start one. Like, just say no.
That doesn't work. Chuck Liddell's a 50-year-old man still trying to find himself. Like,
well,
Yeah,
he needs to
that's
go
just,
on
like,
some kind
painful.
of go on some like spiritual journey or something. Don't fight. You're not gonna find yourself getting knocked out in the cage. That's, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel of that tunnel is a train. Don't go there.
I mean, this is on the fans, man. It is on the people.
Yeah.
This is on the people who, the people who who gave Golden Boy a $750,000 live gate.
yeah, that's my don't do that award. I don't want to see old people fight other old people.
I hate to
nobody wins.
I hate to give Triple H credit for anything, but he had a great line where he said, and I quote, you might want to see Babe Ruth take an at-bat, but you probably don't want to see Babe Ruth play a whole game. And MMA is very much like that, where you might want to see Chuck Liddell in the stands and like get the big pop, but something's wrong with you if you want to see him fight. Like, even Tito was just like a step too far. Because Tito was competitive with a legitimate light heavyweight like a year ago.
Right.
Tito Ortiz is still a good fighter.
I mean, like, memes aside, for 205, he's competent.
Like, Chuck Liddell hasn't been competent or coherent in like 10 years.
Jesus Christ.
And even his last 4 fights, which I vividly remember because I watched all of them, he wasn't coherent then. And that doesn't, yeah.
Like, again, I just want to casually remind everybody who paid for that event. Chuck Liddell was originally not going to retire. He wanted to take a year off to let his brain heal. That is retirement. That's when the UFC said, you just can't do this anymore. Like, he said, and I quote, I want my brain to rest. Like, from what? That doesn't happen. Now we're going to be depressed. This is a depressing podcast.
I mean, this is called the Don't Do That award for a reason.
Yeah.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks. Who came up with this one?
This is me.
Good work, Sensei.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to disappointment of the year yet. Like,
oh yeah, boy, was that fun to research.
Did I do disappointment of the year? I don't even know if I did that one. Oh no, man. I did. Okay,
you'll
good.
think of something.
Okay, I got it.
I mean,
it was a good study.
I don't know about you guys, but if I could don't do that, like if we could take a whole podcast just like
a
4-hour
one of just don't do that.
Yeah. Stop
awards.
Your shit.
Like,
it should be called Stop Your Shit Award.
Yeah. Like from bad tattoos to just questionable promotional decisions to, don't throw a fucking hand truck through a bus. A moving freaking bus. Like, we have a plethora of things to choose from. I think I'm gonna settle on the UFC 232 debacle. Just don't. Like, I don't even have anything to say after that. Like, the day it happened, I was just so exhausted. Just don't do it, please. Like, work around it.
I wasn't on there for that one, but I didn't know the story had happened until I got a message from you saying, we're doing a emergency podcast. And my first thought was, who died? And then I was like, what happened? And as I started to do a little bit more research, I was like, I was sick and I had just gotten back from traveling. And I was like, I'm not going to be on this one, but like, just good Lord. And you were like, don't read until Wednesday. You were giving me time to.
Well, I was just like, dude, just enjoy Christmas.
Oh yeah, I remember that because I told him to tell you that. Like, don't ruin your holiday with this.
Yeah, but I was like, afterwards, I was like, because we discussed it, and I was just like, I'm not gonna let this ruin Christmas for me. I'm gonna forget this ever happened. And then they just talked about it constantly on the show, so I was like, well, great. Guess I won't be able to do that now, will I?
I mean, that was what the whole show was about.
Basically.
But yeah, please don't do that again in 2019 or 2020 or ever again. It just makes you look stupid. For the few of us that actually care, I guess.
That's few decent folk.
How many losses do you think USADA gets next year? Or this year? USADA.
They just re-upped with the UFC.
Yep.
Yeah, that should have got an award too.
Not only did they re-up, I think they re-upped for more money because they're going to do more testing, which you would assume would mean more money.
Whack.
Yeah. That should have been.
This
a
is
Don't
what
Do
I
That
said.
award.
But this is what I. No, well, first off, you can't don't do that because we were just talking about Kimbo Slice like off the podcast. So you gotta have some kind of drug testing. But like,
Yeah, it can't be them though. It can be somebody else.
but there's no one else. There's no one else.
It's got to be
There's no one else.
some independent lab out there or something.
Anacol and I were talking about VADA, like when the UFC was like when USADA did the John Jones original like short sentence where he was like off in like October. But we were talking about like VADA was in trouble like that week.
Yeah.
Some kind of Russian doping scandal, wasn't it?
Something like that. Like.
So it's like there's really nowhere else to go. So
I still can't get over that. What organization was it that got in trouble because of the guy's freaking autobiographical bicycling documentary?
I can't remember now.
Dude starts a thing about like I don't remember like what his condition was or if he was just like overweight and he's just like I'm gonna lose weight through cycling and it's gonna be really inspirational when I make my documentary. And then like halfway through it just switches up and it's just about like the Russian like the Russians supplying their athletes with drugs and using like this weird method of just like there's like a fall safe in the safe where they keep all the urine samples and they replace them at night so that nobody knows. It's just like what the fuck is happening here?
Jesus Christ.
Real life is stranger than fiction.
Sometimes, huh?
So Joey, what's your award?
So I forgot to write this one down. So but those two were the top two ones at least that I would have thought about. But my number one is in 2019, can we never ever ever have another Khabib Conor situation from start to finish? Can we never have another feud that's basically like a geopolitical war? Can we never have a situation that brings innocent people into it who wind up getting hurt physically, like Michael Chiesa and Ray Borg, or get hurt from the standpoint of, you know, I don't know Ali Abdelaziz's family situation. I know there are other people who've reported on it, but like, if he has a son, I doubt he'd want his son to be shouted out by Conor McGregor out of nowhere in the middle of a fucking press conference. Can we never have another situation like that? Can we never have another situation where Vladimir Putin is like a physical figure in like the weird, like he took a picture with Conor at the World Cup and not Khabib, so it was a big deal. Like, can we just never have any of that ever happen again? Can we never have, the fight was actually good, so I'm not going to complain about the fight, but like weird pressers about who speaks what language and who's really Russian and who's really Irish and just all of that situation was bad. And then after the fight, can we never have a situation where a guy is hit by some random dude in the cage after the fight, after his opponent has done a New Jack dive off the top of the cage into a field of men to have a fist fight with another dude? Can we never have a rivalry that feels like religious, like just so many heavy religious and just deep overtones that brought out the worst in a lot of people? Combat sports is always going to have very, very, very touchy-feely kind of give or take pressers or just hype reels where it's kind of like a lot of bad taste, but you let it go because it's combat sports. But everything about 228 crossed the line in so many different ways. And I just never want to have that ever again. I don't ever want to have to live that ever again. Because thankfully it never extended beyond this, but we were talking about two guys who have, you know, the Dagestani crew does not play. And Conor McGregor's, you know, his situation in Ireland, you never know. Like, there were rumors about some kind of like mob ties. Like, you guys were all over that during the 228 podcast, but just let's never have that feud again. Let's never have another feud like that again. I see no interest in that. I know that it made a lot of money, but Conor and Khabib, there are so many other ways to approach that where the ramifications over the long term were not as horrendous. So just let's never do that again. Let's have, if you want to have rivalries, you want to have a DC Jones, you know, Conor was able to make a lot of money with other guys with less overtone-y kind of rivalries. Our sport should be able to make a lot of money without being that dangerous, because let's be fair, that's a dangerous situation. And it only takes one loose cannon with ties to one side of these parties for things to kind of spiral out of control. You know what I mean? So thankfully, it hasn't gotten any worse since then. So just let's never do that again. And one last thing to bring up to kind of pile on to Sensei's point is let's give up the ghost. Let's let old guys retire. We don't need them anymore, so to speak. We don't need to use them in fights. But let's also let's let go of the GSP dream. Let's go of the Diaz brothers' dreams. They're never going to fight again. GSP is never going to fight again. Just, if they're retired, let them be retired, and let's move forward with this bright young crop of fighters who we should be giving our full attention to going forward. So that's just my feeling on it, because it's not just the old guys, but the guys who clearly don't want to fight anymore. GSP doesn't want to fight anymore. The Diaz brothers, they probably don't want to fight anymore. Let's let them go. Let's let them be.
Nick Diaz is out here making like 5 figures just showing up at clubs and smoking weed. Like, he does not need fighting.
Yeah, he does not look like a dude.
Why do I see him in a new video like every other day, but I don't know what he's doing?
Because he's
Dude, all he does is like Instagram story, like his just update his Instagram story of him going to different clubs and getting paid to do it. Like,
right. So it's like, yeah, it's just let these guys be. We don't need to talk about them. They're not fighting anymore. You know, let the dudes do their business, and you can kind of add Brock to that mix too if you want. But just let them go away. Let them live their lives without MMA.
Yeah. There we go. So those are your Don't Do That awards of 2019. Well, with the way MMA works, they're probably gonna.
I was about to say the whole sport is a don't do that.
Yeah, we tried.
I mean, Dana already said that they're gonna do Khabib McGregor 2 in 2019.
Yeah, like don't do that. You didn't. Nobody's learning. Not only that, but apparently they're doing Lobov against Tuhogov in Russia in April. Apparently.
That sounds like it's gonna freaking just end the card. They're just gonna have people just jumping in the cage.
Yeah, like
that might have to be the main event, so we can have a card. Like
it's like in Memphis when they would tell the guys like because Memphis crowds were notorious rioters during wrestling, so like after the main event ended, they would have like the cops, like legitimate cops, at the ringside area to snag the heel so they could run to the back to get out of the way of all like the bottles and shit. So they're gonna have to pull that off if Artem wins. Like they're gonna need to send this guy with some security. He's gonna have to hide under the cage. There's gonna be some serious shit.
I don't remember who it was, but I remember like I think I heard this on like the Laps fan, where they were talking about some like wrestlers, like heel wrestlers. No, who it was? It was guys who were working with Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, the Blackjack Mulligan story.
I don't know. I don't know if it's this one specifically.
About to get a wrestling story.
It was basic stories like, okay, they really love Bruno Sammartino. So like anytime a heel would get over on Bruno, like they had to hire like a fake taxi to drive away.
Well, did you well, I guess if you'll allow me to tell a wrestling story.
Please.
Blackjack Mulligan, father, like the patriarch of the Wyndham family. Barry Windham, Bray Wyatt. We're gonna go through all of them. Blackjack Mulligan. Actually, no, I don't know. Yeah, Blackjack Mulligan. Okay, so Blackjack Mulligan worked with Bruno Sammartino, and the rivalry got or was it Bruno or Pedro Morales? Either way, listen. Blackjack Mulligan was working the main event in Madison Square Garden, and he got stabbed, like, in the ring. And Gorilla Monsoon, Gorilla Monsoon is, like, blind without his glasses, so he didn't realize what was happening. So Mulligan lets him know that he's getting stabbed in, like, the thigh. So they get the guy out of there. And Mulligan, like, had been stabbed so many times before that he never, like, just whatever, didn't even register with him. And it wound up getting infected because it had been soaked in urine, the knife.
Ooh.
So he wound up getting, and that incident, I believe it was with Pedro Morales, because that incident led to Bob Backlund, because Vince McMahon was so worried about somebody legitimately dying that they had to change it to a champion who didn't have the ethnic background, because Bruno Sammartino was Italian and Pedro Morales was Puerto Rican, and they were so worried about like the ethnic champions causing a death that they wound up going with like the all-American Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
There's your story. There's
boring ass Bob Backlund.
Listen, I don't want to hear any hate on Bob Backlund right now, okay?
Like I just know him as the crazy guy who showed up in the '90s and just started screaming at people. Like,
That's my dude. That's probably when he was his best.
Everybody was mad in the 90s.
But I'm saying, like, so we're talking about, like, this could be one of those situations because Khabib, like, the Khabib crew doesn't care. They don't
Khabib
care.
is set for life.
Not only that, but, like, Tuhogov punched Conor McGregor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you would have been like, all right, you did something really shitty. He'd probably hide out for a little bit. And he did, like, a Facebook video bragging about it the next day. So it's like,
Thug life.
yeah, so it's like they don't care. They'll jump Lobov and beat I know, like some of the other dudes are just like, that's how Russian MMA cards are. I think Ben Askren said that's what like wrestling cards in Russia are like. So.
Oh, dude, like Jordan Burroughs tells a story like he was over in Russia for a competition. Dude just punched him in the face in the middle of a match.
Oh man, Dan Severn. Dan Severn talks about like he went to a wrestling tournament against a Russian dude, and they were beating the Russian dude with a stick in between the fights to get him. And he apparently like broke Dan Severn's jaw halfway through the fight, halfway through the wrestling match.
Like,
Jesus.
Like so, if the UFC thinks that they're like security dudes are good enough to handle this shit,
yeah, like for real. That's another thing. Don't do that, Ward. Stop hiring 80-year-old security guards.
Dude. That one security guard who's just like looking at the cage.
They have to hire those because the young guys know what's on the line. They have lives to live. They're not,
Keep luchadoring.
I'm not 20. I'm not 25 taking, I'm not doing that.
Khabib's luchadoring over the cage, and this old guy is just like has no clue what he's supposed to be doing at that moment. And then like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's looking at the cage. But Conor McGregor is getting jumped, and he's not doing anything about it. So it's like...
At that point, you just give up.
Yeah, I would have pulled the Brandon Halsey and just, like, started holding my back. I'm done. I'm out of here.
just take a knee.
Right. But moving on. So we got off on a side tangent. Next category. Breakout Fighter of the Year. I had an honorable mention, and then I saw somebody make a good point, and I erased the honorable mention. But it wasn't like a disrespectful thing. My original honorable mention was Alima Leigh McFarland, and then somebody had pointed out, like she's been champ for a little bit now. I was like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what does that really mean in Bellator? And I'm not saying that because she's just on my list or anything. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah. But I think the point is like she's been handling business for not like a long time, but like she's been champ. So
but again, what does that mean? I will explain why she's on my breakout fighter of the year list.
No, yeah, like she was because she was one of the first people I had thought of.
Who brought this up? Who made this point?
I saw somebody else bring her up on Twitter.
I see.
And so I was reading somebody else's argument, but like I had the same.
Well, I'm gonna make the argument.
Yeah, I had the same mindset they did. So I ended up not putting her on my list. But actually, the first person I thought of was who won my breakout fighter of the year, and that for me was Ray Cooper III in PFL. He started 2018 by murdering Jake Shields. Then he went on to beat Pavel Kush. I don't know. Well, I probably butchered that, but he killed him too. Then he killed Jake Shields again in a match that probably didn't need to happen. And I get it. Like, he didn't win the tournament. Things didn't go his way. But I think he made in terms of, like, people in PFL, he's probably now, I would say after this year, one of their most recognizable faces after having the year that he's had. I mean, he went 4-1. Unfortunately, he lost the big one. But, like, I didn't really know who he was before this. So, I could be wrong. Maybe there are probably people who maybe have been following him for a while. I wasn't really too familiar with him. So for me, it was kind of, who's this guy who just came in and killed everybody? I don't know who he is, but I like him. So, yeah, albeit he didn't win the tournament, but I still think, like, assuming PFL is a thing next year and finances don't crash and, all that, he's going to be one of the most recognizable faces in their tournament. And I think Anti-Cool made this point in the last podcast when we reviewed the card. There's a reason that fight was the main event and not any of the other tournament finals. And I think he was a pretty big reason. So Ray Cooper III is my breakout fighter of the year.
I got like 3.
Well, I mean, you just make up your own, make it up as you go along.
I mean, yeah, like, so I had 3 fighters who, in my mind, just deserved the award, and I just could not, for the life of me, get it down to like just one. So, Alexander Volkanovski, Tatiana Suarez, and Israel Adesanya. That's who I got.
Good stuff.
Like they all. Yeah, I don't think anybody started the year. Well, I shouldn't say that. They start the year relatively, like, not unknown, but you know, they're not exactly at the top 5 of their divisions, and by the end of the year, they're top 5 fighters. Like, it's really that simple. Like, Volkanovski had a big year, racked up 3 big wins over Jeremy Kennedy, Darren Elkins, and Chad Mendes, and ended up knocking Chad Mendes out. Tatiana Suarez beats another up-and-coming strawweight prospect in Alexa Grasso in like a round, and then proceeds to give Carla Esparza, former inaugural UFC strawweight champion, just like the works. Didn't like Esparza land like 2 strikes in that entire fight or something ridiculous like that?
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not.
Yeah, just like just gives her the complete, like, just gives her the business, like, and yeah, breaks herself into the top 5 at strawweight, and then Israel Adesanya goes like, what, was he 4-0 this year?
Yes, sir.
Yep. It goes 4-0, beats 2 guys who maybe not as big as wins as like Chad Mendes and Carlos Esparza, but like 2 really consistent top 15, top 10 guys in Brad Tavares and Derek Brunson, who, if you beat, you deserve to be in the top 10 at middleweight. So, and this is from a guy who, a year and a half ago, was fighting Melvin Gillard, who he outweighs by like 30 pounds. So, yeah, I think it's all for the best. I think that's who it basically comes down to, is breakthrough fighter this year.
So my up, I have to.
Yep.
All right. So
I took
my
all
honorable
your picks. I took all your picks.
You only took 1. No, you took 2. You took the winner, of course, and because of course you took the top. So the honorable mentions, I went with 2 Alexanders. I went with Alexander Hernandez, famed anti-cool punching bag, who debuted and finished Beneil Dariush, and then he finished. He didn't finish, but he beat the other dude, the Canadian.
OAM.
Yeah, OAM. And so if you think about it, breakthrough fighter, for me at least, it means like significant progress, that like you kind of make it. And if you think about it, Hernandez is about to fight Donald Cerrone, and they apparently tried to get him with Justin Gaethje. So that's a breakthrough fighter of the year for me. You make your debut in March, and next January you're fighting the top guy, on ESPN. So kudos to him. Alexander Volkanovski, everything Anti-Cool said times 2. The only reason I didn't have him a little higher was I kind of really didn't think much of Jeremy Kennedy, and I kind of really didn't think much of. I thought a lot of Chad Mendes, but I still feel like a lot of the Mendes questions weren't answered going into that fight. So I thought it was a good fight and a good test, and he aced it, so I have no complaints. But just I had a few questions. Anthony Smith is breakthrough fighter of the year for me to go from, or not breakthrough fighter of the year for me, but in my number 3, because to go from getting finished by Thiago Santos to fighting for the light heavyweight title, like, that's a breakthrough year. And he earned it, quality wins over Shogun, as much as you may cringe, and, Volkan Oezdemir. Number 2, I went with Ali Malay McFarlane, because to me, breakthrough again isn't just like, yeah, she won the title, but this year she headlined an event that did pretty good numbers relative to Bellator. And she headlined in Hawaii and became like, I think they think of her as a big star. So I don't know if she's a big star, but they think of her as one, and she's performing like a big star. So that's number 2. And number 1 for me, Israel Adesanya. I just the year he had, like, I want to go back to something Sensei said. He had a moment against Marvin Vettori in that 3rd round where he did like nothing and got taken down, and it was like a really rough performance relative to his ability. And it's like, since then, it's just, there's never been a mistake. He hasn't had a flaw. Walked through Brad Tavares over 5 rounds. Iced Derek Brunson in the 1st round. Breakthrough performance. He's the guy right now. So, you know, Sensei made a compelling argument for him to be Fighter of the Year, even if I wouldn't go that far. But that's my breakthrough Fighter of the Year, Israel Adesanya.
I'm glad Lima Lay McFarlane got her mention.
Yeah.
I really wanted to give her an award. I probably should. But I'm glad she's at least
you did.
Getting
you did, and then somebody talked you out of it. So.
No, yeah, I talked myself out of it. I got in my own head and talked myself out of it. But yeah, those are our breakout fighters of the year. Next category. This should be fun because I don't think I've talked about this with either of you before this podcast. Best fight promotion of the year. You know what, Joey? Since you always go last.
This is a good one because I'm about to ruin it. This was a weird year. I don't think any promotion had a year that was really, really good and consistent. UFC, Bellator, PFL, they all had their moments. To show you how serious I took the fight promotion of the year, Alaska Fighting Championship is my number 3. So clearly I was focused. No, I gave this a lot of thought. I just, like, no promotion had... It's not like 2016 where the UFC had one of the greatest years ever. They may have made a lot of money, but it wasn't like a banner year, I don't think. So I went off the beaten path, and my promotion of the year is ONE. You think about it, they had some really good cards this year. They're still in business, which is a big deal if you're not the UFC or Bellator. The TV deal that they reached with Turner, which is basically a deal for Bleacher Report, but they're going to be on Turner Broadcasting, which is a big deal. And just, you know, if you're going to go for it, go for it. For an organization like them to say, we're going to get Mighty Mouse, we're going to get Eddie Alvarez, we're going to get Sage Northcutt, they're going for it. So that was my fight promotion of the year. I think they made the most progress throughout the year compared to, say, the UFC, compared to the UFC and Bellator, which I think just kind of did what they usually do. And PFL is still around, but I don't think they're making much progress. So for me, ONE. Congratulations to ONE FC. The fight promotion of the year in a down year.
Yeah. Sensei, you can go next.
Well, now I know what it's like to get my answers.
Oh, my bad.
that was me.
Feel good, right? Hurts, don't it?
No, yeah. For me, honestly, this was actually a no-brainer. I didn't really have to think hard about this at all. Yeah, one championship is easily my best fight promotion of the year. I've said it many times. I felt like ever since they did that app, which I guess isn't going to be a thing anymore, but like that kind of sucks. But from the start of that app, like, I feel like everything for them just went upward after that. Like, it started off with the app. I was able to watch fights free, very accessible. The app, like, actually worked. It's not clunky like Fight Pass. Didn't freeze up on me.
Well, it's just a YouTube stream.
Yeah, but it's clear, at least.
Fair.
You know how many times Fight Pass just logs me off in the middle
I
of a
never
fight?
had a problem with Fight Pass, but I got to admit, the Zone, I can't fucking get that thing to work for me at all.
Really?
Not at all. It like lags and chugs. It's like a Yugo trying to make it.
Everybody's got to step their app game up. But like one did really good with the app while it was a thing. It's not going to be anymore, I guess. But like, you know, I was able to watch cards for free. The actual cards were good. Like I said, Ong Lasong and Ken Hasegawa was an honorable mention for one of my fights of the year. Like, they put on really good cards, and then I think they just, aside from putting on really good cards, and I know it's not for everybody, I guess because of me, because I just kind of like enjoy chaos. I don't mind the mix of one fight now is an MMA fight, the next fight is a kickboxing fight. I think they had like a boxing fight this year. They do all kinds of wild stuff, but I enjoy it. It's something I like alternatives, and to me, that's a perfect alternative. And if I can get every combat sport under one card in the same night, I'm not really going to argue against that.
I want this to be remembered when the UFC does Zuffa boxing on the same card. As like...
And nobody cares because nobody wants to see.
Just saying.
Some random guy from like Boston.
But no, like at least for them, like when they hold their kickboxing fights, like at least they're bringing in. It wasn't like Bellator made you watch Joe Schilling 800 times. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, Joe Schilling's cool and all, but, you know, I don't want to watch Joe Schilling fight in every kickboxing card because he's, like, the only good fighter.
The only good American fighter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the only good American fighter.
Like, Judah against Conor McGregor's dad. Same card as Conor Khabib, too. I don't want to hear a damn thing.
Like, one, you had Giorgio Petrosian. They brought over Nikki Holskin, who killed, I can't remember the other guy's name. He uppercutted him to death, too. But, like, when they reach over to these other combat sports, they're not just picking, like, oh, this is just some random guy. Like, they're getting very reputable fighters. And then, kind of to piggyback off what you said, like, they close the year really strong. You get Mighty Mouse, you get Eddie Alvarez, you get Sage Northcutt. It seems like they kind of have a plan for them. Like they have these like Grand Prix tournaments that they're going to do this year. You know, they signed the TV deal. They were like the only promotion to me that I looked at. And you could kind of say the same for PFL, but with PFL, with them, I just get the feeling like I just don't know how long this is actually going to last. Like, as sad as that's to say, I don't know. Day to day, I feel like one day I'm just going to get a headline that PFL isn't a thing anymore. But, like, with one, they were the only organization I looked at, and I was like, from the start of the year to the end, they got better. This wasn't the same product that I saw at the beginning of the year. This wasn't the same thing I saw last year. They're making strides to actually, like, improve their product. And, like, I see it. I visually see it. The UFC is just kind of... We get really good fights, but like the package as a whole is just kind of like what is this? Like I don't know what's going on. I watch it, but it's too much chaos. It's too much confusion going on. Bellator going Bellator. I don't really need the, you know, they're trying, but you know, I don't know. It's not there yet. One was the only promotion I saw that was clearly making strides to get better, and it's paying off. So, yeah, that's my fight promotion of the year.
So, the UFC's basically kind of been treading water all year. Just kind of, like, especially in the back half, it just kind of feels like they've been filling out dates. Just trying to get this Fox deal done before they move over to ESPN and just start guaranteeing themselves a profit every year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, the UFC did have a big year. Like, maybe not in, like, financially wise, but like they secured their future with the ESPN deal. Bellator, you know, for as well as it's like we have no idea how well the zone is going, but yeah, they got themselves a big 8-figure deal potentially if they can meet their incentives. But like the product in cage is still, you know, you're paying. Their co-main event for their February card is going to be like Pro Cop versus Roy Nelson, and the attitude still hasn't changed. Talking about it, yeah.
And you're still getting like Chidi Njokuani against whatever that guy.
I don't know if we're gonna be getting Chidi anymore.
Yeah.
Why? What happened to him? Did I miss something?
Last fight didn't go.
Oh,
good.
I thought you.
Yeah. No. The man's still alive. Like.
John Salter. But it's like, you know, Bellator's weird in the sense that like their filler main events are just like LFA would not be allowed to put that on. You know what I mean? Like,
I could see John Salter versus Chidi Njokuani for the welterweight, the middleweight title at LFA.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, what's another one that was just like there was another one off the top of my head, but keep going.
No, I get you. Like they put on some really.
It's an inconsistent product.
Yeah, and part of that's meeting international requests. Like I'm sure they would not put Alessio Sakara on in the main event or anything
Oh, for sure.
If they didn't have to go to Italy 2-3 times a year. But like you guys said, one has been the only MMA promotion that seems to be growing upward, or at least trying to anyway. So they're probably my pick for promotion of the year. Only other competition really is Battle of the Nations, which is the great, which just has
That's
the
not
best
real.
product.
That's not real.
This is just
There
the
we
best
go.
product.
That's not real.
It
There
is
we
absolutely
go.
real.
No,
you
it's
could ask,
not.
you could ask that American high school freaking history teacher who got the shit
Stop
beat
it.
out of
I
him
don't want to, like, this
By
is
some-
not real.
by some steroided up bodybuilder from the Ukraine. Like,
I'm just saying, it feels like a work to get Americans to show up and get, like, robbed. It feels like hostile with hammers. So,
I don't think any less amazing.
I don't like it. I disagree. I don't want it. I don't want it in my product. I don't want it in my life sphere.
It's the perfect podcast now. Battle of the Nations got mentioned.
Okay,
There
but
we
I
go.
mentioned Yoel Romero a few times per podcast. People get all upset, so it's not fair.
Nobody. If people come here and don't expect us to fawn over Yoel Romero, then they don't know who we are. Like, that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, we'll hit them with a stool. They're gonna
That's the
understand.
same.
Then we'll tell them we love them because we do.
Exactly. It hurt me more than it hurt you. I'm not kissing you guys though.
My favorite thing about
no.
Battle of the Nations, by the way, is that they have this wooden fence that that shows like that encloses all the knights as they fight. It's just like if that fence wasn't there, these guys would be tripping over themselves so hard because they're literally just holding onto the fence, like they're swinging with one hand.
Look, I don't look. We don't like it. Nobody likes it. It should
Everybody
not
loves
exist.
it.
It should
Everybody
not
we
exist.
love
loves
it.
It should not exist.
The Samurai Fight League is the next step.
Well, we talked
What
about
else?
this earlier. I think we need to be honest that there's like encroachment upon our beach
domain.
muscle FC.
Oh yeah. We got an eye on you guys and whatever little league you got going on over there.
Where is over there, by the way? Where?
I don't know. Nobody
The
knows.
mythical lands of Europe.
Of
Like
Europe.
I
they're really hard to get to. You have to go through like a wardrobe or something.
Fucking
was gonna say is this. Thought you were gonna say like Harry Potter, like Hogwarts.
I learned. I have never read. Okay, I read the first Harry Potter book in like 3rd grade, but I've never actually read any of the other books or watched any of the movies. But I learned a little bit about Harry Potter from a coworker this past week, and it made me very upset because apparently in like Fantastic Beasts, there are like Hogwarts in other countries, right? So like
Yeah, I don't watch the movies either.
I think Sensei and I are trying very clear to make it obvious that we do not. This is out of our.
But
domain.
you know what though? I can infer because everybody I work with, well not everybody, but I have two like actually no, I have like 4 diehard Harry Potter fans I work with. So I will confirm this with them and I will bring this information back.
Oh no, this is a thing. We talked about like I work at a children's library with everybody. A children's library.
Okay, a library.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so you have all the books
Yes.
anyway.
But apparently, so France gets a Hogwarts that they're not called Hogwarts. They're called something else. America has to share its Hogwarts with Canada.
Boom.
South America, Brazil gets a Hogwarts. In Africa, the continent with like 1 billion plus people on it, gets 1 Hogwarts. In
Well, I mean,
Uganda,
that's the way it goes.
That's
America
some
has to share
bullshit.
a Hogwarts. America has to share a Hogwarts with the land that gave us Elias Theodoru, and you think I'm gonna be upset about African Hogwarts?
Dude, like Mexico doesn't even get a Hogwarts. There's not a Spanish-speaking Hogwarts in the Harry Potter universe. It pisses me off
Well, why don't you open one?
because I'm not J.K. Rowling and I don't have that power
Well, you
to just make shit up and post it on
apparently
Twitter.
Apparently, dudes can take our fight league, so we could take that idea.
No, that's we're putting in. Can we send like a cease and desist order?
We're not what, like a napkin?
Hey, we started this idea. Refer back to episode 97. Oh man, but I don't even know how we
Oh
got
my
here.
god, this is
I'm just gonna move on. I don't have a segue.
I just don't. I'm just, I think that it's unfair, but it's Hogwarts. It's magic. It's a
Asia only gets
It is what
one.
it
okay, but like it's also not real.
is.
Sorry, but it's not.
I mean, I know it's not.
I'm just saying.
That's what makes it upsetting, because they can do whatever they want.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. Go back in time, get the time machine. Get the time machine.
I'm gonna go back in time and I'm gonna write Harry Potter. Except I have no idea what Harry Potter is about, because I've never read any of the books except for the first one.
Magic.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write Harry Potter and what I think happens in Harry Potter based on what I've heard from osmosis.
Why did Joel
There
Romero
we
show
go.
up in Harry Potter? I'm gonna write
Hey.
about Joel Romero going to Hogwarts.
I'm making Tiago Santos Thor. That has nothing to do with Harry Potter, but
Tiago Santos.
That's my-
Tiago Santos be the nicest guy
He just loves his kid.
and beating the shit out of people apparently.
Yeah.
Couple hurricanes.
Oh,
I
man.
only know I know some Harry Potter. My brother's a big fan. It's not something we frequently discuss, so I don't know anything about it. I know like 3 characters, like the Snape, because that's Alan Rickman. He's great.
You call him
Oh,
the
yeah.
Snake?
When he reached that level,
like,
he comes up.
like he's a wrestler.
Stop. Snape.
All right.
There's like the old dude, Dumbledore,
And then
And
there's
then
Harry.
Harry, and Joel
There you
Romero.
He fits right.
Dude,
in.
I want to send Sage Northcutt to Hogwarts and then ask him how Jesus Christ allows magic to happen and see what happens. And I think that would be the best.
His brain just opens.
Sage would become the Grand Wizard somehow.
I still need someone to explain to me that Sage Northcutt thing you posted with like him with the knife.
So I think it was just him messing around with his karate knives from like
And
back when he used to do it.
someone pretty much threatened him legally with a weapon.
Yeah. And then he just played it off like it was nothing.
Haha, that's dangerous.
Aha, that's great. I need to get me one of those.
Oh my god.
All right, moving on to this next category. God, I almost want to switch this one too, but I'm not. I'm gonna stick by. All right, so the next category we have is Prospect of the Year, and a disclaimer for the listeners, and we discussed this beforehand. Nobody really knows what a prospect is anymore. That definition is just kind of, it gets lost in
Well,
translation.
the dude who came up with the topics doesn't know. Has
Yeah,
no idea
you're
what the
in for
winner is. Or what idea what the prospect means. Like, we got problems.
So, my very loose interpretation of what prospect is, this is just somebody who's relatively new in an organization. I don't have anything else for you. I don't.
Totally.
I don't know the exact.
Totally different from Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. Just
Yeah.
different
I don't know. I don't know. Whatever you think is a prospect in your mind, it's a prospect.
Two guy gal of the year.
There you go. So my honorable mentions, none of which only now that I'm looking at my list, I think only 2 of these people are actual like legit prospects. But anywho, this was actually a really hard category. There were a lot of new faces on the block this year who did really good for themselves. So my honorable mentions for Prospect of the Year were Kayla Harrison from PFL, Petr Yan, which we discussed before the podcast, who is probably not really a prospect at all, but for whatever, he's in there. And Wei Li Zhang was my other honorable mention. But after much deliberation, I'm gonna give. I flip flopped on this a little bit, but I'm gonna give Prospect of the Year to Aaron Pico. Reasoning being, I know his loss that he had wasn't in 2018, the Zach Freeman incident. But like one thing that I look for in prospects is like how you handle adversity, and because it's easy to when the going's good, everything's good. You're on top of the world, la-di-da, life is great. But he came out the gate and fumbled, like straight out the gate 2017, fumbled. Not a good look. That could have been like soul crushing for a lot of other prospects. That could have been like the, he could have ended up on one of those ESPN stories like the guy that just didn't make it, that we, like Ron Leaf. Like, it could have been one of those stories. Ever since then, the dude's been flawless. And not only has he been flawless, he's been destroying people. I think the Anti-Cool mentioned the Shane Crutchin KO to the body. Was that the same KO where he KO'd him and he did like a cartwheel? Was that him?
Can't
remember if that was him.
I don't remember that part.
He hit somebody in the body so hard that they like rolled backwards.
Well, let me make sure let's see if that was him, because they got the knockout right here on YouTube. He didn't roll, but he just like jumped like 3 feet back and then just collapsed his knees.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, like Pico, he killed Shane Crutchin, he killed Lee Morrison, and then he went on to fight Higo, who was actually a former title challenger, and I guess what you could say was his, easily like his toughest test to date. And he pretty much passed that with flying colors. And he sets himself up this year. I think he's fighting Henry Corrales on one of these upcoming cards. I'm not sure which one. I
believe it's the one featuring Fedor and Bader.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Jack Swagger.
Who's the true draw?
There you go. There you go. If they hit $1 million, it's him.
It might literally
but
be.
He like if we're like, do people like Jack Swagger?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't watch wrestling, so
to be honest, like the general feeling was when he left the WWE, it was like God, they could have done more with him, which they probably could have. And then when he left and was working on the indies, it was like, maybe that's why they didn't do more with him. So
he's really boring.
Basically, and he kind of does like he tends to fluctuate in body shape. Like I'm curious to see what he'll look like.
I hope he just shows up around.
He could, because I do know at one point, like I was watching him on the indies and he was wearing a shirt, which is never a good sign. That normally means you're a little uncomfortable with your physique. It's like wearing a shirt in the pool. You're letting people know that you're not thrilled with what you got going on. So I'm curious to see what he looks like, because he does not have the Lashley physique. He's not gonna get the Lashley. Like Bobby Lashley is a specimen, so I don't think he's gonna have that kind of body for Bellator.
We'll see. Well, he's not prospect of the year. He's gonna have to earn it.
He could. There's time. 2019, we could be. Well, this cough, I could be dead, but you guys.
But yeah, I gave Pico my prospect of the year. Like he fumbled out the gate 2 years ago, already pretty much having to overcome adversity. And after that stumble out the gate, dude's been flawless, and like none of his fights have been like remotely competitive. He's been just kind of mauling people. You can always make the case of overall competition. I was almost gonna go with Wei Li Zhang because she sub Jag, and I don't know. You can make arguments for other people, but for me, it's him. He's been the most impressive for me, and he's already had that I had to come over adversity moment, which I think is really important in a prospect's career. So he's kind of gotten that stumbling block out the way, and it's pretty much been smooth sailing from here. We'll see how the Corrales fight goes, but aside from that one slip up, he's pretty much lived up to all expectations, pretty much. So he is my prospect of the year, Aaron Pico.
You know what, Sam? Because I actually didn't have an answer for this. Because like normally you'd be like, oh, Israel Adesanya, but like I gave he's tied for breakthrough fight of the year. Like I don't know what constitutes a prospect anymore. Some guy who's been fighting for a year just beat Brian Kelleher, who was like ranked top 10-ish.
Yeah, that's a good
6 months ago.
Let's give it to Olynyk.
Yeah.
He's technically young for heavyweight.
Alexei Olynyk, prospect of the year, 2018.
Did I tweet Vatsa? Because he's not on my list, but I just thought of him now.
I mean, I don't know.
All right.
What's the difference between a breakthrough fighter and somebody who's still like a Darren Till type?
I made I made these categories separate so I could give more people awards. I didn't want to leave anybody out.
All right, so I guess
Aaron
you're just,
Pico. Yeah,
so you can
Aaron
go Aaron.
Pico, prospect
So that
of the year.
brings up another issue because I had AJ McKee on my list, but I took him off because he like main evented. So like, is he still a prospect?
I would still
main event.
Yeah, I would still count him as a prospect.
All right, so he's on my list. But the problem, of course, with prospect of the year is that nobody knows what a prospect is anymore, because there's no like immediate feeder system, so to speak. So, like half of my prospects, like Macy Barber, I guess she's a prospect. Alexander Hernandez, I guess he's a prospect. But then I have like Johnny Walker, who's a prospect who has like 17 pro fights, right? And I call, how many fights does Johnny Walker have?
Up 20.
Yeah, like so. How is he necessarily a prospect?
Yeah, he's a UFC prospect.
Like, is he from that? Like, he has 18 pro fights, right? He's
They got him up
26.
the Brazilian Contender Series.
Right. All right. So he's been fighting for 6 years.
Yeah.
If you had told me he had 20 fights in like 2 years, like some of these other dudes who come out of Brazil do, I'd be like, yeah, he's still a prospect.
I don't know. Like
I mean, he's still a prospect in terms of like we don't know what his ceiling is.
right, but I also have Peter Yan on my list. But Peter Yan is not a prospect. But like, he's like, what is a prospect? So this was beginning to give me a headache. So I went with a guy who I trust, I believe is a prospect, because he doesn't have a lot of fights. You know, he's still kind of learning, and you can see it. And he hasn't been in the UFC for very long. I went with Nasrat Haqparast. So
Yeah, I like that.
he was my stop giving yourself a headache pick.
I like that. Little Gastelum.
Baby Gastelum.
Yeah, baby.
Kick move extraordinaire, kicking people to the body repeatedly when they're like dying of oxygen deprivation.
Oh man, yeah, I'm not mad at that. I like that pick. All right, so those are our prospects of the year. Even though none of us know what a prospect is, but you don't either. So
Good point.
who
good
do
point,
you judge? Whoever's listening and judging and screwing your face up, you don't know what a prospect is. Shut up.
You come up with a definition,
You're gonna
and we'll work within it.
Right. Next year, we'll use your definition. But those are our prospects of the year. This next award, which I have to credit Joey, we're calling this the Darren Elkins Award. Joey coined this phrase, so I have to give him his credit. The Darren Elkins Award is going to the comeback win of the year. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This was like one of the categories that I did not research much. Not only did I not research it much, but I have bad memory. So off top, when I thought of this award, I couldn't even, like, no fights immediately came to my head. I had to really like jog my memory to even think about these. I have one honorable mention, and it's probably a fight that only I saw, unless you're a Cage Warriors fan. If you watch Cage Warriors '97, Mason Jones comeback against probably gonna butcher this gentleman's name, Caseller Formella. I don't even know what division these guys were in, but I remember the beginning of the fight. Mason Jones was getting beat up pretty bad. It looked like he was about to get out of there. Found a second win at around probably about a minute 30 left in the fight. And dude comes back and just unleashes hell and comebacks and wins. It was pretty awesome. But after I finally jogged my memory, comeback of the year, Derek Lewis killing Alexander Volkov in one punch, effectively erasing all of Volkov's hard work that he did to set himself up for a title shot. Derek Lewis took it away in one punch in a fight that he was losing pretty handedly. And then proceeded to give like one of the greatest post-fight speeches the sport has ever seen. So Derek Lewis gets my comeback one of the year, or my Darren Elkins Award, we should say.
Yeah, why is this award not called the Derek Lewis Award?
Huh?
Because Derek Lewis...
I was going to make a joke in jest, but I don't want people to like get offended, so I'm going to table it. It was gonna be a little lighthearted, jocular humor, but I figure we'll just because somebody's bound to get offended by the joke, so we're just gonna table it.
I only say this because Derek Lewis never It's basically losing every fight he's in at any given moment until he wins it.
Well, then couldn't it be the Brian Ortega Award as well?
It could.
Hey.
Look, Darren Elkins is never going to fight for a UFC title. These guys have fought for a UFC title. This is his title. The comeback win of the year is his title.
That I blame the tattoo.
Okay.
Or either the tattoo is giving him superpowers, or it's just taking away his ability to not get the shit beat out of him.
I see.
But yeah, my pick is Derek Lewis Volkov. just because like it doesn't get more. I'm getting the shit beat out of me than heavyweight, and then I win the fight, despite the fact that I am dead freaking tired.
Good stuff. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say.
All right.
Like
Well,
if you watch Eddie Derek Lewis fight,
Derek Lewis was not even in my top 5 on this. That shows.
What?
Listen, relax. I have realistic options.
Whack.
Offended. Triggered.
Take it easy. Both of you stop it.
Whack.
Stop it. Cut out. All right. So
Your
my
listeners in
honorable
jail.
mentions
Not
were.
real.
Stop it. Let me explain. Let me talk this out. My honorable mentions were Kyoji Horiguchi against Darian Caldwell. Splitting the award. Or splitting the nomination. OSP and Shogun against Tyson Pedro, because both fights literally were the same. Yair Rodriguez is here, was my original choice, but that was more like a career comeback. Like, that's a big career comeback move. Had Tyson Fury had I known that you could do boxers, Tyson Fury would have been here somewhere. My comeback of the year, Claudio Puelles, who was getting massacred violently in Chile, and then pulled off like basically a Hail Mary out of nowhere finish over a really, 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 really good Brazilian lightweight whose name I cannot remember at this current moment in time. I'm going to look that up. But Claudio Puelles is my choice. Felipe Silva. So that's my dude. That's my guy. You guys, Derek Lewis is a fine choice. I just, I guess I'm used to it. Because then I would have...
You've been desensitized.
Yeah, because then I would have to include Derek Lewis against Marcin Tybura because he was losing that fight too. So I'm going with Claudio Puelles, and I'm upset that the Peruvian is mad that I picked the Peruvian. I'm physically shaking. What's my
All right, I'll take
violently
that.
mad
I'll
right
take
now. I'm
Wait.
ill.
All right. No, you
Researching
no,
over
you
there.
can go. This has nothing to do with.
All right.
No. All right. This next category. I wish I would have had more time to like research this, because I feel like there were probably more answers, or at least because I don't have an honorable mention for this next category. For some people, this might not even count as an upset. But next category is upset of the year. And pretty much the only fight that came to my mind, for some reason I forgot that this fight happened this year. I realized researching these categories, like, there's so many fights. Like, how many fights did we watch a year? Like, it's too much.
12. just all right. Well, that's like just make an average of 12 times like 45, and that's UFC fights alone.
Jesus, yeah. Like, so many fights. I'm like, that happened this year? I completely forgot. But my upset of the year is Thug Rose sending Joanna to another planet with a left hook.
Well, that was in 2017.
Hold up.
Yeah.
So you're fine.
Oh, no. She beat her this year, though,
Yeah,
right?
but that was not an upset, I don't think.
That was a rematch.
Oh, God.
Can I go and
Alright.
allow you two to stall? Does that help any?
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Alright,
then.
perfect.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off one of your answers.
All right. So, Annikel, do you have one?
An answer? Yes.
Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, well, the only two, I had Amanda Nunes versus Cyborg as an honorable mention. I also had Brian Ortega versus Frankie Edgar as an honorable mention. My choice, if you beat the greatest fighter of all time, potentially, it doesn't matter if it was a split decision, you beat the greatest fighter of all time, potentially, and he was the guy who iced you in a round. Henry Cejudo over Demetrius Johnson is my upset of the year.
I will piggyback off that.
Annikel probably has some obscure ass fight from South Africa.
What? No, my answer is Cejudo Johnson. My
Which-
honor, my honorable mention is actually and I'm not sure if this was reflecting the betting line, but it felt like it was reflecting like fan and like analyst speculation on the fight. DC over Stipe.
I could see that. I could see that for sure.
So, but my pick is Cejudo over Johnson. Like,
I'm glad all three of us agree.
Actually, to be honest, my upset of the year, to piggyback off of Sensei's, my upset of the year was Matt Serra over GSP. That was a.
that was a shocker.
Didn't see that one coming. Matt Serra in the Hall of Fame. That's an upset of the year, I suppose, for some people. I think that was the most contentious thing that I had this year. Like, no, till Wonderboy. And then when I did a post on Matt Serra going into the UFC and I was into the Hall of Fame, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. And it was like there were two battle lines. You either thought he was in or you thought he shouldn't be in. It was aggressive. So.
God. I'm so glad I don't record this podcast by myself because I would have went on a long rant about Thug Rose and Yohan, and I just would have been completely wrong.
I was just curious if Anacool was going to help you out or just let you embarrass yourself.
Yeah, I was.
He seems like
I was like about to step in, but like, did I get it wrong?
It happened in November of 2017, so like technically that's like 2018.
Yeah, it was close.
I mean, let's be real.
Close.
Years aren't real.
Yeah.
What is
Nothing
real?
is
Yeah, what is
obviously
real these days?
Nothing is real. We went over that. Everything is fake.
Good point.
Everything is. I'm sorry. Everything is choreographed.
Correction, if you want to be technical and use the proper term, everything is a work.
Everything is a work.
So it's not.
Except for pro wrestling.
No, that's real.
That's real. That's the only true sport.
I'm glad all three of us vehemently researched this upset of the year. I will do better next time. But, moving on.
Making it to the Wilder fight could be considered an upset of the year too, if you think about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, John Jones making it to the Gus fight.
To be fair, he had some help. He had a little bit of help. Although it doesn't sound like he technically did anything wrong. So a little bit of help.
That's a whole nother. I'll leave that alone.
Oh, is that phlegm?
Next category.
Phlegm right there.
This category was actually the last category I added. I just kind of added this on a whim. Next category is ass whipping of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, who just got beat up like
Really badly.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll actually throw a preface out. My winner wasn't really like a savage beating, but I picked it because the person on the receiving end, I don't think he was ready for what happened to him. But my honorable mentions, I didn't want to put this fight on because I feel bad for him, but it happened, man. Rob Font boxing a life off of Sergio Pettis was an honorable mention. Sergio didn't need that to happen. That shouldn't have been a thing, but life happens.
What happens when they cut your division?
Yeah. That was an honorable mention. Amanda Nunes and Raquel Pennington. That was gonna win, but it became hard to watch, and I just wasn't enjoying that fight after a while. It was like, all right, we've had enough of this. We can probably stop this now. And we had a whole podcast discussion on that. But that was my other honorable mention. There were probably more I could have thought of, but like I said, this was the last category. I just kind of added on a whim. But my ass whipping of the year comes at Bellator 204, Ricky Bandejas and James Gallagher. Because I don't think he was ready for that Shawn Michaels super kick. I don't think anybody was ready for that Shawn Michaels super kick. And another reason I picked that fight to win is because Gallagher, man, I'll say it, man, he's like the fake Bellator Conor over there, and I don't like it. Like, I'm not feeling it. I don't know if that's how he is in person. He might be a nice guy. I don't know. I don't know him. But from the outline looking in, they make him like Conor Jr., and I'm just not feeling it. So all the brash talk, all the the antics, that went out the window. He got Shawn Michaels super kicked, and he wasn't ready. And I think anybody who was on that hype train, we kind of saw, like, Gallagher has talent, but I don't think he's as good as you guys think he is. And he got super kicked for his trouble.
Okay.
Nobody else got Shawn Michaels super kicked this year.
Speaking of SGB guys, SBG guys, and Bellator, I'm surprised Charlie Ward was in the welterweight tournament.
No, because then you'd have to put Galore Buffando in there, and you can't just overload it.
Ooh, true.
And I cool you have a butt whooping of the year.
Man, the news with Cal Pennington.
No, only the viewers got hurt there.
I mean,
and the people who paid money.
And Raquel Pennington.
Yeah, okay.
Poor, like that fight. Probably like Rocky should have had like a tune-up fight because she broke her leg like in December or January before the fight.
Yeah.
And then they put her in there with Amanda Nunes, who leg kicks harder than basically any woman has ever leg kicked anybody ever before. And she did that. And I don't think I can name a proper comparison to just how overmatched she was once she started getting her leg kicked.
And I think it was made worse by the corner situation where she was like, I just don't want to fight anymore. And they were like, no, you're fine. You go out there and you...
No, you're going to fight and you're going to like it.
Yeah, I understand that. Mine is a little bit more, well, I guess it's not uplifting, but we'll find out.
It was like watching, it was like the stories you hear about like NFL coaches who send dudes back out there after they get a concussion or something.
Yeah.
Oh, those aren't stories. That happened last year.
Yeah. Well, no, you never see it though. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh no! There was one. Who was the? I can't remember. Well, you watch the NFL, don't
yes,
you?
I do.
Who was the quarterback before Deshaun Watson came? It was somebody who was kind of.
Wow, Tom Savage, I think it was.
One of those guys took a really bad hit and was visibly
Well, there was discussion last year that Cam Newton in the playoffs might have gotten a concussion and they sent him back out there, but that was disproven. But either way, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And there's been a couple other I think there was Nick Foles. Speaking of which, I think back in KC he had an incident similar to that. So, but I get Anna Cole's point more over the larger scale.
Yeah.
So ass whipping of the year. I kind of took a different approach, I guess, and I viewed it almost like what was the fight that had the most dick moves in it? What fight was just disrespectful? Not just you lost, but the level of losing was almost on a disrespectful level. You lost on a physical and a metaphysical level. So obviously the Bandejas fight was up there. Derek Lewis against Daniel Cormier. Cormier pretty much that fight is kind of give or take, but I don't think Lewis landed anything, one punch. Tatiana Suarez obviously against Carla Esparza. Darren Elkins against Alexander Volkanovski. I don't know if you guys remember that fight, but Volkanovski just beat the shit out of poor Darren Elkins. I mean, there's no nice way to put it. That was the sort of fight where any other human being who's not Darren Elkins is carted out. They break out the stretcher and they play the taps for him. It was a brutal fight.
He almost beat the damage tattoo.
He literally almost did. He almost turned him into Quasimodo. It was such a violent, And it's unfair to make jokes about this, but it is ass whooping. We're trying to be realistic about how bad the beating was. My number one though, Max Holloway against Brian Ortega. Hold on. Every second of that fight, outside of the third round, and even in the third round, every second of that fight was a Max Holloway and one mixtape for dick moves. There's the moment when he completely rocks Ortega and Ortega steadies himself, and rather than go for the finish, Holloway proceeds to fake zombie walk around him with his arms out like he's a drunk dude about to fall, the wobble. Ortega hit him with the hardest hook I've ever seen Holloway get hit with, and Holloway clapped at him. and then finger wagged him, and then hit him with like an 8-piece. There was the 4th round, which speaks for itself, where Holloway literally turns to Joe Rogan and is like, all right, I'm going to stop it now. And then he just went out there and for like 5 minutes beat the ever-loving poor hell out of Brian Ortega. And then his first comment after the round was, I was so close. He told Joe Rogan, I'm so close to finishing this man. Then there was like, I forgot what else he did. He did like almost like a breakdance move halfway through.
There was a point where he, like, just mid-combination, just grabbed Brian Ortega's wrist and put it up by his chin and told him to keep his hands up.
Yeah, it's just like, and just, if you were making like, it's like the best way to put it was like, and it's unfair to say it because Ortega's so great, but like, if you videotaped yourself going one-on-one with like a 5-year-old in basketball, and then made a highlight reel of all the dunks and the rejections, like just utter like big brothering this poor man. And then after the fight, he goes, "We should probably be friends." Like, that's just mean. You're just a mean person, a dick move extraordinaire.
That's up there with Demetrius Johnson telling John Dodson after their second fight that he did a good job.
Yeah, just like, you're a mean human being.
Don't give me your consolation prize.
Ortega's face is swollen shut. He can't see. He got hit with 800 punches, and you go over there and you're like, we should probably be friends. I don't want to be friends with you. Go away. I'm gonna need therapy because of you. It's just, Max Holloway's return was a dick move highlight. Like, he'll never top this. Not, when he took the Jose Aldo like left hook and was like motioning for him to throw more, like, nothing's gonna top this fight. This entire fight was a dick move by Max Holloway. The king of dick moves.
I got a bit of breaking news for you guys.
Oh, is this bad news or good news?
Fight announcement news.
But that's answer the question.
So we now know when and where we will see Cody Garbrandt again. He'll be fighting at UFC 235 against Pedro Munoz.
That's actually a pretty decent fight for him.
Yeah, a fight that he can win.
Well,
but no, I'm not saying he's like a lock, but it's like, because they kept just throwing him against like creme de la creme.
They tried to give him John Lineker.
Yeah, and he was like, "I'm hurt."
Yeah, they were gonna get him killed. Like, this is a winnable fight for him, but it's still like there's still a fight he can lose though. But at least it's not, we're not throwing him to the wolves. At least, like, you can win this. I don't know if you will, but
it's a fair fight for him.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah,
how likely do you think it is Cody Garbrandt's gonna be like, "I'm gonna wrestle," and put his neck right into a guillotine?
Ooh. Is Garbrandt that egotistical? I'm gonna give it to Cody. I think he's just gonna go with the boxing. I think his problem is he tends to overvalue his own power more than he does thinking he's better at everything than the other guy does. So, yeah, I'm a side with Cody on this one, which probably isn't the smartest thing, but.
I'm thinking of two unique scenarios. The first is he sticks his neck out. The second is that Garbrandt gets rocked, and Munoz is like, "I gotta hit the fucking guillotine," and just goes for it repeatedly, and Cody rallies back for a 29-28. I gotta get that guillotine, man.
Could happen. I don't know. Munoz put the pause on.
Who was this? Oh, it was. Oh wait.
Caraway.
Perfect. Speaking of dick moves. I guess we could put that fight up there too, because he like ruins poor
Brian Keller.
Yeah, no, Caraway.
Oh, Caraway.
He ruins Caraway to the body, and then he's just like, "I'm gonna put you on my shoulders, and walk you around." It's like when Eric Morales finished that dude with a body shot, and then he posed over him like it was a trophy kill.
I was thinking of Brett Johns. Everything he did to Brett Johns, and then just refusing to put him away.
No, you need to hit that guillotine. You gotta hit your finishing move.
Just repeat the spot.
Yeah, and then basically it's like, fuck. Get in this guillotine already, you slippery Scott.
All right, this next category, we're gonna bring the mood down again, but this is the last potentially sad one.
I mean, they're all sad.
Disappointment.
Stop being
disappointment of
Stop being the way you are.
Disappointment of the year.
Can I? I'm gonna just say mine was everything.
You know what? That's not awful. It's not an awful category.
It's not at all. Because like we said
No, we got
earlier,
Thiago Santos fight 5 times. How could the year have been bad?
He didn't get a title fight.
That's unfair.
Yeah.
Well, it's racism, obviously.
I mean, Anthony Smith got one. One, whatever.
Perhaps the problem is that Anthony Smith has the better nickname, Lionheart.
Yeah.
It's a nickname game.
The disappointment of the year, I could have took myself down a really dark hole, so I didn't research this too much. I didn't want to get too sad, and then just like not watch the sport at all anymore. But after a little bit of research, I had to remember. I took myself back to a place, and I remembered how dark that week was. So my disappointment of the year, it's a moment, but it's like an entire week span. My disappointment of the year is April 1st through whatever that Saturday was leading up to UFC 223. This is when Tony, the cord incident, wasn't this like the 4th time that fight got canceled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say. Yeah. I remember that day seeing that headline that Tony pulled out. And I heard it from Dana, and then I looked at my calendar and saw it was April 1st. And I was like, well, this can't be true. I don't believe Dana on any day of the week. On April 1st, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not believing Dana on April 1st. And, yeah, Dana was telling the truth. And then you find out that, you know, obviously you're bummed out because Tony got hurt. But it's not like you got injured training. Like you guys say Tony Ferguson, he trains like an anime character. Like he does just it's weird.
Dumb things that would literally destroy the body of any other human being.
Right. But he wasn't taken out by that. He got taken out by a cord. A cord.
Which,
you know,
depending on who you ask, is either his fault for wearing sunglasses indoors, or you know, the UFC's fault for not having this cord apparently tapered down.
But just he trips over a cord, and we lose this fight against Khabib for the 4th time. And it just on April 1st, it was just the biggest like gut wrench. Like why does this sport do this to us? Like why? Can we get one nice thing? Like, what has to happen for this fight to... Why is it that this fight just doesn't... The universe doesn't want to let this be a thing? Like, the stars never align. It never... That whole week just hurt. It was... I mean, eventually, you know, we got a new main event, you know, and whatever happened, but that was a dark time for me. That whole week was just not good. Not good. So that's my disappointment of the year. Is Tony pulling out of the Khabib fight for the 4th time. Well, he didn't pull out for the 4th time, but that's the 4th time that fight like fell apart.
And I call you up.
I mean, I said everything, but in particular, everything around was it UFC 229.
I think so. Yeah. I get 8 and 9 confused.
Yeah, everything around UFC 229. That's just from Conor throwing the freaking hand trolley through a bus full of fighters to the UFC doing nothing about it, to them basically giving like both guys the okay to just go as low as humanly possible. To
both guys going as low as humanly possible.
To both guys going as low as humanly possible. To them thinking that these 80-year-old security guards are going to do anything if, you know, Team Dagestan decides to hop the fucking fence. And to Dylan Danis just being there and opening his mouth. This
Now he
constant-
he claims he did not say anything, but
he's,
I don't know.
I don't believe Dylan Danis as far as I can throw him.
I'm just saying. Well, apparently you're like Ben Askren on these wrestling mats these days, so you could, because you said you like to use those Askren moves. Maybe you could throw him pretty far.
I don't know.
Send him to the. I will put it this way. I hope he didn't say it because that's a really nasty thing to be saying. So I have no problem giving him the benefit of the doubt because I'd rather give him the benefit of the doubt than it be true.
Like, I can't get over the fact that he got thrown out of Garcia's gym. Because, like, from all accounts, Garcia is literally, like, the nicest human being in combat sports. And that just tells me that Dylan Danis is just out of his fucking mind at this point.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, I hope it's not true.
I mean, I do too, but, like, just everything about UFC 229 was a disappointment besides the actual fight, which was tremendous. So yeah, just that. And the fact that we're getting a freaking rematch that we really don't need.
Concur. All right. So I'm up.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a different card. I'm going to go with UFC 230. And first, my two honorable mentions. One, Carlos Condit fights. Please stop. Two, the welterweight division as a whole. Also, please stop. But disappointment of the year. I'm going with UFC 230. And let me explain why. Remove the main event situation entirely. If I could offer you a card with Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier, Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa, Derek Brunson against Israel Adesanya, Luke Rockhold against Chris Weidman, Jacare against David Branch, plus a few other fights that fell through, you'd be pretty excited about that card, regardless of what the main event was. Then consider that most of the main event ideas started falling out. So you're losing this main event. Your idea of doing John Jones versus Gustafsson, Jones doesn't feel comfortable fighting that soon, so he's removed from the equation. Cain Velasquez versus Stipe Miocic for the interim heavyweight title, that falls through. So now you don't have that. You wanted to do Valentina Shevchenko against what's her name?
Sijara Eubanks.
Sijara Eubanks, and your audience revolts, so that fight falls through. So you got to move that fight off. You thought about moving up a fight. You couldn't pull that off with Holloway. You didn't feel comfortable with Holloway Ortega being moved up. Another fight fell through that was supposed to be like a main event fight. You've lost all these fights. So you got to kind of scrap together. But you have like the greatest undercard ever, potentially. I mean, all those fights, you'd be cool with that, right? Like, you'd be cool with Poirier, Diaz, Weidman, Rockhold, Jacare Branch, all that stuff. Okay? You lose Weidman, Rockhold. You lose Costa Romero. You lose Branch against Jacare because because Jacare's got to be moved up to fight Rockhold, to fight Weidman. Then you lose, you remove that title fight with Eubanks and Shevchenko because your audience doesn't want it. So now you've lost the title fight, but you replace it with Cormier against Lewis, which is good stuff. And then you lose Diaz versus Poirier, which was a big draw in theory for your fans. You lose all that stuff. And like, that's the most devastated card I've ever seen in my life. Now, the fights were awesome. No complaints about the fights, but think about all the talent you lost off that card. Think of the number of title fights and then the main events that those guys have all had that you just lost. So for me, that's why UFC 230 is the disappointment of the year, because it had so much potential. And we could take the UFC to task for not having the best main event plan for that card, but they tried really hard with that undercard, and they just got raked over the coals. So a tip of my hat or a moment of silence for UFC 230. What you could have been. Play taps.
And there you
I was about to say, is anybody still awake? Did I run everybody
no,
off?
I was having the moment.
Sorry.
I was letting the moment breathe.
I mean, I'm sad now.
Welcome to the sad
so
house.
that was our
It really is.
Yeah. Those are our disappointments of the year. We're coming up on the last two categories.
As we approach 4 hours.
And these should be a little bit on a better note. So the next category, not really an award, but this is your 2019 MMA/combat sports wish list. So my wish list I'm going to start off with boxing. This probably won't happen, but I want it. Can we get this Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford fight? Can I have that, please? Just at least an announcement of it, even if it doesn't happen. Like,
So you want to be hurt, but you don't.
Like, I just want to at least by the end of this year hear like, all right, we have a venue, we have a date. I want to know that like this fight is actually like being worked on. Like I don't want this to be the Tony Habib of boxing, to where like I want to see this fight so bad, and then I get my hopes up, and then it's like, oh no, they're fighting somebody else, and it just doesn't happen. So that's number one on my wish list. I want that more than anything else next year. So give me Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Also in 2019, I might get this depending on how this fight goes. I would love to see Marlon Moraes get a title shot in 2019. One would assume if he beats the Sun Sal, he would. But if the UFC has taught me anything, you can't assume anything, because you will be wrong. But, if the stars would align, I would love to see that. So on my wish list. I was nice on my wish list. I want to see PFL come back. I want them to stick around. I want to see how this whole tournament thing can keep going for them. Maybe if they tinker with it, make some adjustments. I don't know. I just like that they were trying something different. So I want them to stay around. I'll keep making jokes about the checks bouncing because it's funny to me. But I want them to stay around. I like what they're doing over there. I feel like the product is pretty decent. It's improved from past years. So I want them to stick around. So I hope they, they're still around in 2019. And my last wish list fight, in the world of kickboxing, I want a Tenshin and Takeru fight. I feel like I'm not going to get that either. But I want to throw it out in the atmosphere, and hopefully the universe will listen to me. So that's my wish list of 2019.
Like you, I hope PFL sticks around for season 2, and I hope they do that women's lightweight tournament, because I'm gonna assume a lot of these featherweight women are gonna be out of jobs. When I say a lot, but like I mean Megan Anderson, she's probably gonna be out of a job.
Sensei, this is gonna be a lighter note, a happier note. Some of these fighters are gonna be out of jobs.
I mean, we're just being real. I don't think I'm being real. Like,
no, I think it's fair.
Like, one of my wish lists is like, okay, I hope the UFC keeps flyweight, but that's not happening. Like, I don't know. I hope the UFC signs more 205ers and women's bantamweights, because those divisions need blood and life, and they I think they signed like 2 women this year, if my memory serves me correctly, that weren't directly off of Tough. So there's that. I hope Bellator books their champions to be more active. I like Pitbull wants to fight 3 times a year, so I say, why don't you let him? Speaking of Pitbull, I hope they do Chandler versus Pitbull, and in the meantime do like a lightweight tournament or something to give Michael Chandler another contender, because he's basically run through that division. I want Tenshin Nasukawa versus Takeru. Like, if I don't have a specific MMA fight I want, but just overall, that's my number one for like kickboxing. I want Crawford versus a top 147 pounder. Well, I don't even think we mentioned it, but he's going to be. Rumors he's fighting Amir Khan at MSG, and like Khan's a good 147er, but I don't know if I consider him near the top anymore, or at the top anymore. I'd like an Usyk heavyweight run. I'd like to see the winner of Fury Wilder actually fight Joshua. And if Canelo is not going to be fighting Jacobs or Triple G, I want to see him make a serious run at 168. So that's it.
Am I up?
Yep.
Okay. So I got 5 things. I didn't put a specific fight, although obviously I'd like to see Tony Ferguson fight for the belt at some point. I think it's way overdue. And boxing-wise, it doesn't make sense to do a wish list because none of those fights ever seem to really come together. So I wouldn't like Fury Wilder versus Joshua winner would be great, but it sounds like Eddie Hearn isn't that interested, and it sounds like maybe Wilder might not be that interested anymore. So I didn't do a specific fight. Number 5 is I want a specific contender series just for finding women's MMA. I think that the contender series has a better turnout than tough because these are, instead of having tough is very much like a roll of the dice. Anything can happen over 16 weeks when you have reality filming plus weight cuts and whatever. I feel like the contender series brings out better talent. The women's MMA is not my favorite thing, so to speak, but the strawweight division is very, very talented. I feel like flyweight has a lot of potential. I'm totally cool with just bringing every bantamweight you can find under any rock, under any crevice, and putting them in a 6-week run where it's just bantamweights and strawweights and flyweights and featherweights too, and just trying to find one fighter a week who you can sign who looks really good. I think it can work out. We kind of saw it with the Brazilian Dana White Contender Series. They brought in some good women. Because that's the only way you're going to grow these divisions is really to start investing in them. Number 4, I want to see less harsh weight cuts. I'd like to see more fighters willingly move around. That, of course, ties into number 3, which is I'd like to see more catch weights. I don't think a show is ruined if you're doing a catch weight main event. I think it's cool to sometimes play with the weight classes. If it helps guys not have to cut so much weight, or if it makes sense to have, a fighter doesn't want to go to 170, but if you can get a small 170er who's coming, it should be especially true with these catch weights when you're signing somebody on 2 weeks' notice. And it's like, you can tell them, hey, make sure you make 155, but if they're 175 when they get the call and they don't know if the UFC is ever going to call again, they're probably not going to be 100% honest with you. So you open up a door where a guy could potentially have a really bad weight cut and a really bad miss. And I believe the UFC's also had a few guys get signed and then fail drug tests because they're not clean. So better booking in terms of these like short notice fights. Number 2 is less low class drama. We already kind of beat up UFC 229, but just less of that stuff. Less of UFC 229, less of Colby Covington kind of walking a really fine line and just kind of being kind of trashy. Less of John Jones. Like, I don't know if John Jones does it deliberately, but I know Daniel Cormier has spoken openly about the fact that he doesn't like John Jones making comments about being his dad or whatever, because Daniel Cormier's dad was killed, I believe, right? So I believe he was killed or he died, but like it makes Cormier uncomfortable. I think that's fair. Less talking about people's kids, less talking about people's families. One of the things that's really starting to irritate me is less talking about people like being traitors to their country because they have the nerve to train where they can afford to train. So less people are traitors, less, I think Derek Brunson made comments about Israel Adesanya training in New Zealand, even though he's from Nigeria. Like, less of that stuff. We could really use less dirt shit, bad behavior, and just just stuff that brings negativity to the sport. There's a way to hype a fight without doing that. And number 1, more title defenses. This is the number 1 thing that's irritated me all year. Light heavyweight, heavyweight, lightweight, and women's featherweight are the only divisions that saw 2 title defenses this year. Official title defenses. More title fights, have your champions be more active, and the only way that like these divisions are going to progress is if you get these guys like TJ Dillashaw fighting more than once a year. If you can get Tyron Woodley to fight more than once a year. If you can figure out what you're doing at 155. More title fights, because that's the only way these divisions are going to get unlock jammed. 170 is so stuffed right now. The only way that's going to get unstuffed is if you start having guys fight more often. So I want more activity. You got 40-something cards in the UFC to kind of fill out. There's no reason why some guys shouldn't be fighting 3 times a year or given the opportunity to fight 3 times a year. And those are my wish lists.
Alrighty. Hopefully we all get what we want.
We're not.
We won't. But it's fun to dream, It's fun to To think
one
we will.
more
Hope we
thing, if
will.
I could. No throwing grenades at MMA fighters. No throwing grenades, period. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the wildest story I've heard all year.
Who gets into an argument and is like, fuck, I gotta throw this grenade at this guy?
Right.
I mean, they already pulled
we
handguns. They had to escalate it somehow.
Jesus Christ, man. Can we talk it out before you...
It's like, don't be a menace when he opens up the back of the car and he opens up the back of the truck and there's like rocket launchers.
Like, yeah, we got to talk this out first, man. We got to find a middle ground before you
Because it really,
blow my head off.
It really is a wonder that like Cowboy Oliveira did not get hurt worse.
And they were at a gas station. Like,
It-
we all could have died. Like,
That's a great point. I never even thought about that.
we all could have been out of here. Like, oh man, that had to have been like a serious beef. Like, that had to have sprung from. That couldn't have just been regular. Oh, he looked at me wrong. He stepped on my shoe.
Wasn't the story that he was like breaking up a fight?
But it was his family members though.
Still, it's like he's breaking it up, and then some dude's like, I got the grenade at this fucking guy.
What's I'm wondering, like, what was the family like? What was the something was going on, man. There had to have been more of that story. But yeah, I'm glad he's okay though, because it's not every day you get a grenade.
A grenade. Yeah, grenade.
It's not an everyday occurrence. But moving on, last category. No, it's not really a category. I guess this could
Ominous.
technically it's a question. So we'll end it with this. And I didn't put this in the question, but I'll say that kind of like the show. You don't have to just be like MMA or just UFC. This can be for anything. Of the current title holders, who do you think will lose their belt by the end of 2019? My first person that came to mind, I'm gonna say that by the end of 2019, Dillashaw is gonna lose his belt.
Interesting.
Because I think Marlon Moraes is going to take it from him. If they give Marlon Moraes a title shot.
So you're not going to assume that Rafael Santos is going to beat him again?
No. Sticking to my guns. You know what, though? I'm kind of worried because I feel like I have the same feeling about Ortega. I saw how that worked out. It's different, though. I hope it is. But, yeah, I'm going to say Dillashaw ends 2019 with no belt. Or he will at least have lost it. I don't know, maybe he'll get it back, but he'll lose it by the end.
Okay. My pick is Henry Cejudo.
One way or another.
One way or another.
It's like Vince McMahon, guarantee it.
So cheap. So cheap. I guess technically that is an answer. I didn't think of that. I should have put a
My
stipulation.
number 2 answer is Daniel Cormier.
Will he lose? Nah. I should have thought about this
That's
question.
just mean. Because we know who he's gonna lose it to.
Time?
I was gonna say John Jones.
No, I was thinking he's gonna lose it because he's gonna leave.
I just imagine Cormier shows up like to the UFC headquarters to hand his title belt over, and Jones is like behind a door, and as soon as he walks in to hand it over to Dana, he gets head kicked, just so they can make it official.
Say it's like the hardcore title.
I'm just imagining Daniel like now. I think we need a reality show where like Daniel Cormier is showing up to like get the last. He wants the last box of cereal, and Jones uses his like extendo arms to grab it and run off.
Oh man.
If we're talking about people who probably lose it in the cage, not counting Henry Cejudo, who might lose it in a couple weeks. I'm gonna go with Rose.
Damn.
Yeah.
Stole my choice.
Yeah, I think Jessica Andrade is a mountain too high.
So all of my top 3 were set. Cejudo, Namajunas, and Cormier. Because I imagine that they're going to do Jones DC3 again. Like, they're going to do Jones DC3. And there's nothing to suggest that that's ever going to change. Like, that's just his guy. He can't beat him. Namajunas, not just Andrade, but like if you think about it, Tatiana Suarez is still there. Like, I know she doesn't exist, but I believe she kind of exists. So Mackenzie Dern, like she's really good too.
She also has to make weight.
I'm just saying, but like as I said, she doesn't even exist. But like, you have to consider her. You have to consider, God, what's her name? You have to consider what's her name. I said Tatiana Suarez. I said Jessica Andrade. I'm really high on Macy Barber. I don't think it would be this year, but I'm pretty high on her as a fighter. And like Rose is really good, but let's also be fair. Joanna had a really good time against Rose the second fight, so it's not like Joanna's a million miles away from her either. And then there are just like those weird fighters who like. I think 115 is the one division where like at any given week somebody could be on Rose's level just because it's so inconsistent. It's like an unrefined product. Like if you think about it, Courtney Casey's not a bad fighter. Like she has a lot of tools in her toolbox that would give Rose some problems. Not that I would pick her to win. It's just that like on any given week one of these fighters could be really good. And then there was just a lot of international talent like Livia Souza. She could be somebody who could potentially move up real quick.
Yeah, I posted about her on Twitter earlier. Get on the bandwagon. She's taking somebody's head off.
Yeah, so like 115 is really thick, and there's not a lot of finishers, but there's a lot of talent. So I think Rose would be in trouble. And Cejudo, not just because of the fact that I think Dillashaw has a pretty good chance to beat him, but his division might not be there. So like that's an automatic yank. Because I originally went with Holloway because I think he's going to vacate it, but I don't think vacating the title should count. So, there you go. And Robert Whittaker was my original number one choice, but I feel bad, so I removed it.
I don't know why I didn't pick him because I've been saying for a while that I think Gaslam's going to pull that off.
Yeah, like I think that you're not only that, but then he's got to fight Adesanya, and so it's like there's, or he could be fighting Anderson Silva now. Let's be fair. Let's be fair now.
Anderson, he completes the last hoorah. Would he be like the only fighter, like old guy, who came back and like, if some divine intervention that happened?
How much older is he than DC? Does anybody know?
Well, I mean, in terms of like an old guy who like fell off. Well, maybe not fell off, but like he went through a streak where he wasn't the best guy anymore, and then he kind of like climbed his way back.
UFC wise,
because Cormier never really fell off.
UFC wise, Robbie Lawler, but he wasn't old. But like I think people forget that Robbie Lawler came to the UFC from Strikeforce with like the worst.
Strikeforce, and he was very meaty. Yeah, he was kind of middle of the road.
With like the worst reputation as like the world's blandest middleweight. That's it, huh? Or does Anakel got something you want to bring to the forefront?
Oh, for like old dudes who fell off and came back?
No, just
that's what I was trying to think of.
Oh
yeah,
I heard you typing. I thought maybe you were gonna drop some.
No, I was trying to think of what was Michael Bisping's run before he fought Anderson Silva, or CB Dalloway, I should say.
Uncrowned King.
Yep.
He was like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, he was like always like alternating wins and losses.
Yeah, he was like 3 and 4 his last 7. Like I don't know if I guess you can't say he was really falling off, but
he was hanging on.
And it's worth pointing out that he was like almost finished by CB Dalloway in that fight as well. So
yeah, but nah, I don't got anything to add. I'm good.
I was gonna pose a question to the group, but I don't know if Sensei's got a special wrap up.
Yeah, we well, no, I don't have a special wrap up, but we've been here for
5 hours, 7 hours, 12 hours.
Yeah, it's been about half a work shift.
Yeah, basically. If you're listening to this at work, we just made your Monday better.
Yeah, we at least got. If you started at the beginning of your shift, we got you through to lunch, and if you started after lunch, you should be clocking out by now.
You might be in the car going home.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you work like 12-hour days, then God bless your little heart. But yeah, so those are our Dojo Talk Podcast Awards. I guess when I put this episode out, or by the time you guys hear this, it'll be a thing. I'll have timestamps in the episode, so if you just want to know who won for a specific award, I'll have that listed It's a long episode if you want to just skip
He's
around.
gonna timestamp.
Or you can just
coughs, every cough I have.
You know. Or if you don't want to skip, you can listen to us talk about coughs. You can listen to us threaten this other what's that league? That stupid
Yeah,
league?
Nicole, you found the league, but you haven't given like
the Mo Muscle League.
Mo Muscle Fighting Championships.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, you can listen to us threaten them. We're suing you guys. Cease and desist is coming. Get ready.
Very litigious.
I'm getting my court-appointed lawyer. You know, yeah, we had a lot of side banner, but you know, we got through the awards. So that's what we got for 2018, and then the next card is the infamous ESPN Plus debut. That's gonna be an experience, for better or worse. But
have fun with
you
that.
know, we'll cross. Yeah, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Why?
Why am I crossing the bridge?
Well, just in general.
I'm not watching that.
Why
Yeah,
necessarily?
he's not. He doesn't want to be a part of the shenanigans. So I'm gonna drag my feet. And,
Am I gonna have to be on here for that one? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Go
I'm
against
probably
Stokes.
dragging
Stokes can do his shit.
I'm dragging you on here for that.
I mean, y'all can both be on.
Stokes and I.
Yes.
This one.
Yeah.
Joe, I didn't mean to confront you on this, but
This
me
is
and-
like the last time I was on here where I was told, and I quote, "We don't want to put you on the spot, but what'd you think about Chuck Tito?" Like, sounds like a setup to me.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but it seems like you and Stokes are never at the same place at the same time.
There are a few differences, a few subsequent like important differences.
I don't believe you.
Stokes is a lot more jolly. Stokes is never sick because I've never heard him sick. He may be hungover, but that's not sick. That's a man-made illness. Stokes is better with money. I know that for a fact. I don't even have to know. I don't even have to know what Stokes does with his money to know he's better with money.
Bet on the
Stokes is short.
Chargers and Little League baseball.
Yeah. Stokes is, I guess, a degenerate gambler because he bet on like esports, which isn't real, which is a work.
I mean, nothing's real.
Good point.
Guys, if you take anything away from this podcast, nothing is real. There are no rules. Go crazy.
Stokes is shorter than I am because I'm 6'2" and I think he's like 5'1".
So this just means
Taller.
that is so wrong.
Stokes has a better voice.
So one of you is a faulty clone.
I like how I'm being kind and talking about his great qualities, and you guys just want to you want to cause a hubbub, a beef.
You're the one who just called him 5'1".
Oh, he's a short man. He's a little guy. By his own admission, a short gentleman.
Hey, 5'1" for a guy, that's past short.
Well, I think he's like 5'7". I believe when we had this conversation, he was shorter than Anicool, who's like 5'4".
I am 5'10", so bite me.
You keep getting taller every time we do this.
I am 5'10". I've been 5'10" since like freshman year of high school.
Pretty sure. Well, you stopped growing. That's a shame. I hate to see that.
I know, right?
Hate to see that.
Can't
Pretty
teach
sure
your
you're
vegetables.
You're gonna be like Manute Bowl 7'3" by the time this episode ends. You're gonna be like, ah, yeah, 6'4". But I take offense to the idea that I'm Stokes. Stokes is better looking.
You take offense to that.
So one of you is a faulty clone.
You know what? I may have been baked a little too long or a little too short, so it's possible. Stokes is Stokes is from California. Stokes hates the Dillashaws. I'm okay with TJ, so we can't be the same guy.
They just programmed you guys different.
It's possible. I got Windows Vista. He got it.
One of you upgraded the Windows.
I don't even
10,
know
the
which.
other
Yeah, I
one
was about to say which one is the newest one. 10.
The 10's terrible. I hate it.
We're just dragging this podcast along, but Anicool's crashing like the stock market. I can hear it in him.
Oh, no, that was my phone.
I feel so. This feels so bad for him.
We're about to.
You guys trying to cause a beef between Stokes and I don't appreciate that. I take Stokes. You're a great guy.
Stokes tries to start the beef every time he's on the show.
That's a good point.
I just want to see who's the clone.
You
guys have to take a picture together now.
Oh my god. No, because then you'll be like,
That's
we don't
right.
know which one's which. Have to wear like shirts, matching like shirts with name tags.
You can wear an I'm with Stokes shirt.
Man.
And you can wear an I'm with Joey shirt. They have little arrows on it.
I like how his real name is
Yeah.
Stokes now. Like that's like, I am Stokes.
He's Stokes.
He's Stokes. I don't like strawberries, so we definitely can't be like together the same.
Well, we don't know if he likes them though. You know, he might grow them, but he might not eat them.
Interesting topic.
Could be one of those.
I don't have Stokes' nervous laugh. His little like chuckle. That can't be him. Don't make me question my own reality. Took me a long time.
Hey, nothing's real. We've said it. You're having
All
your
work.
you're having your Matrix moment when Neo freaked out and just puked because he couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah, well, I'm dying all right, so we got that.
Oh,
Hey, we're gonna be doing this podcast. I'm surprised since they didn't say we're gonna breeze right through.
Nah, I knew that was a lie.
Said that would be over. We'd be like here for another 5 hours.
Yeah, if I would have said that, we'd just now be getting the fight of the year.
Hey guys, I'm not even recording. We're gonna start this over.
Right.
Oh my god.
Podcast I was on where he wanted to look up alternative measures to watch a show, and his computer blew up.
Oh,
It's just
man.
trying to find a way to stall because Stokes disappeared, and then he was abducted by like aliens, and then
He was just driving home, and he was just like, I could hear the wind in the background, so I'm just peace out for a little bit.
I thought y'all were gonna lose me that day. Boy, that was a scary like 5 minutes of my life.
And then I think that was the same one where I had a power outage mid conversation. So not a great day.
Oh,
Are we
man.
doing the shots that are parting, or are we good with this?
You know what? Due to time constraints, we'll yeah, we won't do any parting shots and shit. I didn't write any down anyway.
I was just gonna tell everybody thanks for listening and have an awesome 2019. Have a better 2019 than you did 2018. You're all great people.
Yeah, well, yeah, that'll be the shout out because it is our 2nd year anniversary, and it's only fitting that on our anniversary the podcast is 3 hours.
Wait, that's it?
It's fitting. Well, 3:30.
Okay. I was gonna say.
Oh, 3:30. Well, that's like, dude, we did like 30 categories. We've done fight cards that are like 12 fights that we take 5 hours on. By the end of it, we don't even remember who won or who lost. We're just random.
We never mention who wins or who loses.
Because none of it's real.
They should know.
I mean, should they? Should they really? None of it's real. Nothing is real, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you gotta have fun even if it's not real. Fake can still be fun.
Like,
but no, thanks for everybody who has listened. Yeah, we've been rolling on this podcast.
I think I broke.
You broke? Reality?
No, just in general.
I don't think Sensei
thanks for everybody.
He powered right through it like a hero.
Thanks for everybody who has listened. It's been our 2nd year anniversary, so we appreciate you guys. 2019, based on that schedule they put out, there won't be a shortage of fights to talk about. So you'll be hearing from us pretty soon. So hopefully you enjoyed the awards. Hopefully I didn't make anybody mad. I apologize for my blunder of Rose and Joanna not being upset of the year.
Remember that.
I mean, that's not as bad as your last blunder.
Oh, we don't got time.
You can't make that comment and not educate the audience.
We'll do. No, they know because I mentioned it last podcast. Because the blunder came back, but I corrected myself. We'll do that off air. But no. Thank you guys though for listening, man. Please post, share, share with a friend. Shout out. God, I would give it. Somebody on Tumblr reblogged us and said we had a great podcast, and I don't remember his name.
Whoever you are, you're great.
Yeah, whoever you are, you're awesome. I forgot who you are.
Number one.
But if I see your name, I'll remember it. But I have terrible memory. But we appreciate it. So you guys, man, keep sharing, reposting. It may seem like a little act, but it helps a lot. And if you have it in your heart, leave a nice 5-star rating on iTunes. We would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, man.
Oh, real quick. Just because I want to be a good friend. If Alex, the other half of the Sports Sound Off, happens to do anything this week with soccer related or baseball related, please give it a listen. He puts a lot of effort into his stuff, and he's very knowledgeable. And he lets me do this, like, whatever we call this madness. Like, I get a good hand in that because of him. So shouts to him. If he talks about anything sports related, soccer, baseball, racing, anything, please give it a like or give it a listen. He appreciates it. There you go. Plug my friend's work, his hard work, because he really does work hard on that.
Like and listen to our stuff. We know what we're doing.
No, we really don't, but we try.
Well, we're doing better than whatever your other favorite
now
podcast
we're just
is
causing
you
a
guys are
beef. Now you're first try to get me and Stogue into a fight.
Podcast Wars 2019. Pulling a WCW with the tank. Is that WCW?
Coming for the MMA hour.
There we go.
Which one? There's like 2 at the same time.
Taking both.
Everyone.
Oh my God! Look, I am Look, there's another thing. Difference between me and Stokes. I am non-competitive. Everybody eats in my world, so have your good.
We just want to eat more.
Am I the only guy at the table trying to calm folks down?
Yep.
Yeah, we're throwing plates, taking food off of other people's plates.
Pop's tripping, man.
We're raiding the fridge. It's getting out of hand. But now, thank you guys for listening, man. It's been another episode of the Dojo Talk Podcast, episode 118. As always, anytime people are being punched and or kicked in the face, we will be there to talk about it. And until next time, we will catch you guys later.